a ball at people, and you can retract it. You're literally just using those like cartoon gloves, pistols with the gloves on it. But now you're just using it for real. It's like, yeah, fuck you. So good. Anyway, but yeah, Bioshock. So a little bit of history for Bioshock 2. This was actually developed by, what's it called? By Digital Extremes, and they actually did a lot of the gameplay aspects. Yeah, they actually were involved in this, and you can feel it with some of how the gameplay is, how basically the combat has been changed slightly. It's still similar to Bioshock 1, where it encourages you to do like combination fighting, but now you actually get to use your plasmids and your offensive weapons at the same time.
Oh, so I don't have to annoyingly switch over?
Yeah. Which, thank God. That was getting annoying very quickly.
Well, you saw in the damn, stream that I constantly would, get a shark!
Yes.
Oh, the shark is not on the screen anymore.
I just constantly annoyed that it was a shark. So happy.
Oh, it's in... Okay, so... I don't know what species it is. I don't know if it's great white or reef. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, okay.
One of them.
So, okay, there it is. Oh, yeah, that looks like a great white. Okay.
Yeah, we'll be seeing more of them in this one because... Oh. So, big spoiler for this. We're going to be able to actually leave the city in this one. So basically, we will be seeing more oceanic life for these, what I like to refer to as walking areas, basically. It's not a walking simulator. It's basically you going out and going from one area to the other area, basically.
Yeah, and I think someone put that shark model into Subnautica, because I remember it... I don't know. I guess I'll have to see when now we're in new game. Easy, you're new to shooters, you played other shooters. Hard, you've played... I'm going fucking medium, because last time I went fucking... I don't know.
Middle of the road?
Yeah, I'm doing normal, because I don't want to fucking get all angry at the game like I did last time.
Oh yeah, this, from my own experience, it is going to be a little bit difficult, but not overly difficult. And yes, so for this game, we're actually going to be playing exclusively as a Big Daddy. Subject Delta. And you actually get to see Rapture as it was during the New Year's party and everything like that. So this is taking place a little bit before the attack, basically. So before the collapse and everything.
Let's go out to play, Daddy.
What I also like is that the models are slightly higher detail this time around, but not so much that it's glaring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I hope you don't mind the helmet overlay, because that's going to be the whole game's going to be played.
I've played Halo 4 and done the same thing.
And yes, you are a Alpha Series Big Daddy, so you're a type of... You're like the middle ground between a Rosie and a Bouncer, basically.
Holy shit.
Want some, big guy?
Oh yeah, don't fuck with Dad's kid, or he will fuck you up.
Bigger than hard, harder than hard! Get out of here, freak!
There we are. He's perfectly safe now.
What I do like about the cutscene is that it also shows you the start of the Splicer pandemics and their problems. Like how this is like around the period where they were actually actively hunting little sisters and the like.
Now,
I also like how basically this thug hits you with the hypnotism plasmid that you used in Bioshock 1.
Now,
And yes, the lady you just witnessed is Sophia Lamb. She's the commie we're going to be hunting for this game.
Of course it's a woman. Oh.
5.
Honestly, this what she does to Delta is so fucked. Like, if you're gonna kill a man, do it yourself, you know? This is just messed up.
It's horrible.
Mm-hmm. And in front of his own kid, too. However, thanks to Adam and young Eleanor's capabilities here,
You're kind
they've
of.
managed to put you back together.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's just here. I don't know.
Can you hear me?
What's up?
Well, it's just you're kind of spoiling it sometimes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it's pretty much given what you are. Like, this isn't a big twist. They basically just say it out the gate.
I see.
Yeah.
I thought it was like.
No. If it was a spoiler, I wouldn't be saying anything. Like, I'm not saying, oh, this is what happens. Basically, it's literally like, at some point, Eleanor just flat out says, we put you back together. Basically.
Fallen is Babylon.
Yeah, so we're 10 years removed after the events of Bioshock. Well, 10 years after that, 5 years after Jack left Rapture. So basically, Rapture has gotten far worse than before. Like, we saw it as it was last time, right? It wasn't great, but it was like still standing.
Growing everywhere, seaweed.
Mm-hmm. The roof is leaking. Basically, parts of Rapture are just flooding because there's nobody really maintaining it, and there's only so much that the big daddies can do to keep the place running. You know, like their job is only external. They don't do anything externally. I also like the fact that you can see the little sisters like looking around, being like, "Oh, is he okay?" You know.
Yeah.
Again, really implying that yes, this is how you came back. It's thanks to them. Also, I should mention, the drill is detachable. This is why you can actually use your other hand freely.
I need this. Do you hear me?
But it does need fuel. If you run out of fuel, you still can use the drill, but you'll only do the melee attack. You won't actually be able to, like, turn it on and put it through splicers and things like that.
They use control to heal. Lamb is watching.
Mm-hmm. So that's the name of the woman, Sophia Lamb. You are a little bit more durable than Jack was, so you don't take as many, or when you take damage, it's not as bad. But you are more limited in terms of how many health packs you can get, which the maximum you'll be able to get is like 5 at the start. Also, I should mention, this game is a little bit on the shorter side. Like, the levels are more streamlined as well. And yes, this is... What I do like is that when it comes to Subject Delta, when it comes to the Alpha series, they actually have ports in their wrists that allow them to inject plasmids directly.
Eleanor has missed you.
So this is why the Alpha series was kind of like a jack-of-all-trades Big Daddy variant. They could actually use plasmids, utilize them to a certain degree, but they were completely different than anything else.
Okay, this is much better.
And as you can see, there's something else in the city that's actively causing problems. But yeah, so now that you can actually use both plasmids and your weaponry, the game becomes a lot easier to work with. You're not actively like constantly going back and forth and being like, oh, I need to switch out this, and I need to do that, which I think is a huge boost to everything else,
At last, a signal. You, who are bringing this dead city to life, listen.
And it's just
My
like
name,
with
it is Tannenbaum.
Bioshock 1,
I know who you are,
when it comes
and
to
I am in much
what's it
need
called?
of your help.
The plasmids,
Please,
Delta will
find me
automatically
in the
do the same
Atlantic
thing and inject
Express
himself,
train
but the
station.
difference is that the animation is played differently, basically.
That is interesting.
I also like the fact that, again, when you look out the windows, you actually see the Big Daddy still at work, and how much more vibrant the ocean life is compared to, like, Bioshock 1, where it was more of a set dress. Here it's like, because you're going to be out there at some point, they need to make it kind of like part of the environment, more detailed, a bit more interesting, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Like even seeing like Rosie's again, like it's reused animation, but actually seeing the Rosie's rivet openings, keeping it all close and secure, watching the water actually turn off. It's small things like that, but it really does help give the game a sort of life of its own, which is ironic, all things considered, because Rapture is still a sinking ship at the bottom of the ocean.
We actually get to use the rivet gun.
Yes, so that actually leads perfectly into the next segment. Unlike Jack, whose weaponry was mostly like stuff you would find in, like normal weapons, Delta's weaponry is all custom built to Big Daddy's directly. So the rivet gun, it takes the place of your pistol. It's a lot more powerful than the pistol is, actually. So if you land a few headshots, you can actually kill a splicer almost immediately, or with a well-placed shot, you can do it. You'll get a machine gun, which is basically a minigun, a double-barrel shotgun at a later point that you can customize, and just a whole arsenal of like very, very specific weapons that really makes Subject Delta feel like he's a completely different character than Jack. Like this isn't just we've reskinned the player. It's literally like we've taken the extra mile to make the player feel like Delta is more of a character than he was before, That said, I also do like how, again, this whole area just really kind of exemplifies how bad things are going with Rapture. The decay, the algae, like the general just state of Rapture and how badly things have gotten. Like even compared to Bioshock 1. Like remember when you started the game, you were in the main bathysphere area, and it was like it was fine. It was still like dilapidated, but not so much that you can imagine someone could sweep this up. Here it's just pure like, holy shit, the grime is growing legs and is walking around, basically.
Big sister?
Yes, so this is the new enemy that's introduced in this game, specifically. So what Big Sisters are, as it's revealed, is that these are, well, aside from that, these are little sisters that never got saved, and basically they start to change, grow, and become completely unstable as a result. So what Lamb's done is given them armor, helmets, and basically ordered them to start just enforcing her will, basically, to a degree. They actually have, aside from the acrobatics, they actually have the ability to use plasmids to fight you directly. So it's basically like fighting another you, but without a ranged ability. Like a gun, basically. They have the same kind of weaknesses, electricity, and water, things of that nature.
Big sister's always right. Shut the fuck up, you communist piece of shit.
Yes, she constantly uses them. And one of the details I like about the big sister design is that if you pay attention to the back, they actually have a cage. Well, they'll put the little sisters in to transport them around, basically.
Of course it's a cage. Of course, like, this is showing how fucking evil they are.
Oh, absolutely.
Meanwhile, the big baddies are like, like they're oppressive. These like,
yeah, they are far more aggressive and just like, again, if big daddies are kind of like bulls, then big sisters are basically like fast-moving jackals, essentially. They get provoked by anything. They lash out. One of the details is that they will actually use those large needles of theirs on other splicers and use it to actually drain the life out of them so they regain health. So it really does show how more predatory these things are compared to like the normal big daddy.
Cold room of the ocean, of course.
Yeah, they bitches be crazy down in Rapture, and this is no exception. So there's a reason.
Sophia Doctor, whatever her name is, she's reminded me a lot of the modern day Victardicus, shall we say.
She is the template. I'm gonna be frank there, yeah. And I'll explain more as the story goes on. I'm not gonna spoil her goal. And also, I love the fact how you just walk into this room and this, you know, like it's so grand, it's so posh, and then immediately the big sister just runs in and destroys the glass.
Is this supposed to be a bad thing? I mean, I can breathe underwater, you dumb bitch.
Well, when you're in the water, you have none of your weapons. You can't really fire, and this is because if you try to shoot the rivet gun, it would just implode on itself. I also like the fact that if you go to a specific area where the big sister ran to, she's actually like standing there watching. Like she actively knows what she's done, and it's just so freaking amazing. But yeah, this is the big thing and the big selling point of Bioshock 2 is that you are out in the ocean now. You actively see the sea life and can actually explore Rapture with no problem whatsoever. In theory, there should be no reason why Subject Delta just doesn't leave, but you know there's a reason for it. Let's say. Also, you saw the latest iteration of the Big Daddy. This is the Rumbler. So Rumblers are a new creation. Big Daddies, and they are completely heavy artillery variants, essentially. They will fire rockets at their enemies, they'll throw mini turrets to attack and defend themselves. They're the same as the regular Big Daddies, essentially, but they just have more range, basically.
A sand tiger shark in the plane from Bioshock 1.
Yeah. Again, I love the fact that they do these callbacks, but it doesn't feel forced. It feels natural to the setting. Because again, it's been 10 years, and it's great.
And this is a whale skeleton. Maybe this is the whale that was, like, the one we saw in the intro of Bioshock 1. Maybe that's the whale.
Yeah. It's heavily implied that we are roughly in the same general area. It's just that we're slightly off by a bit. Especially since segments of the city have completely collapsed by this point. Again, the fact that Rapture has survived this long for 10 fucking years is insane.
Oh wait, that's not a sand tiger shark, that's a 6-gill shark, I think. A blunt nose one, I think, since it's really huge. Oh, it's a giant squid. Or a colossal squid. Welcome to
What's the difference?
Rapture,
They're both
beautiful
huge.
City. Well, there's slight differences.
How so?
Colossal squids are a bit more fatter.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Or is it the giant? I don't know. There's differences like that to them. But yeah, it's like.
I getcha. But yeah, what I like is that when as you kind of come out, you see like, before in Bioshock 1, the lights were like flickering, but they were still kind of like on, basically. Here it's like, yeah, everything's shutting down completely. The city is dying. It's not going to last very long. And by the time we're done here, it's going to be nothing more than a memory, basically. If it doesn't, implode on itself.
It's Atlantis.
But it really
now.
just goes.
Oh, as I was
basically.
saying, there's Atlantis. Oh, fuck.
The bitter irony. It's like, oh, hey, look at that. Oh, okay.
Okay. Flood and drain.
But yes, basically, to give a little bit more context as well, Tenenbaum is in City 2. And her goal is to basically pick up where Jack left off and rescue as many little sisters as she can, but she's not as capable as she is before. This is why she's recruiting you to a certain degree. We also get to experience a new form of transport with Bioshock 2, and that is the Atlantis Express. So the main mode of travel in Bioshock is the bathyspheres, and basically these are used to like move from place to place. But before them, it was actually the Atlantic Express, and it was this underwater metro train that could go to stations to stations. This was basically created at the start of Rapture's creation. So we're actually going to be exploring the oldest parts of Rapture, rather than retracing our steps from where Jack went, basically. Which again, I think is a great idea because it gives us a greater scale of like how big the city really was and what sort of like ancient structure, like what it was essentially at the day.
Hack tool. Yeah, it says subvert them to your side.
Yeah, so basically, unlike the hacking last time, the hack tool actually lets you fire a hack dart right into the cameras and turrets, and basically you can now hack them via this new minigame. So gone is the fluid minigame. Now you're just timing, what's it called? Timing the needle from one point to the other, basically. It is going to get more complicated. Basically, if you miss the spot, you can actually cause an alarm to go off. If you hit the red, it will electrocute you. But if you hit the blue lines, it actually allows you to get a little bit more of a goodie from the machine itself, basically. So if you do vending machines, you actually will get extra ammo or extra health or little things like that, basically. With turrets, I think they'll get a bit more of a boost in weapons.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay. You can butt with
And
the
then,
gun.
This is Dr. Sophia.
it's the small, again, like I said, it's the small details of this game. Actually, I think if you do middle, press down on middle mouse, it actually lets you zoom down sights.
We reject the tyrant.
I'm told that the people grow tense and isolated in the absence of the sun. Now they clamor for a psychiatrist.
But yeah. So as you can pretty much imagine, Sophia Lamb is doing everything in her power to basically run Rapture into the dirt.
As communists typically do.
Yes, so to kind of give a little bit of her history, basically when Ryan started, what's it called? When he started inviting people down, there was like this real big problem with like mental health because people realized, oh, I can never go back to the surface, or I can't go out to a walk or whatever. So he specifically goes and looks for a psychiatrist to help like alleviate these problems, and he wants to market it, as like, oh, we can start training people to be like her, essentially, yada yada yada. But the problem is that he didn't vet Sophia, and basically, to use the vernacular of the time, she's a pinko. So basically she started to subvert Ryan's capitalistic ideas with a more socialist mentality, constantly talking about the people, this and that, and using her vast intellect to undermine everything Ryan and his city was trying to do, basically. Hell, there's even a recording later in the game that you can find, which specifically has Sophia and Ryan debating publicly, and she constantly uses the same typical bullshit the modern day parasites like her use, and you see how effective it is in swaying the general public.
You survived, but your suffering is over now. These men will ease your burden. Please understand that like all I have done, this is an act of love.
Gaslighting bitch.
It is Sophia Lamb. She has found you.
Pretty much.
Oh,
Sophia Lamb is.
It's an active love. This fucking reminds me of my fucking ex right now. I'm gonna go fucking kill this fucker. Ah, shit.
Yeah.
What is this shit? Oh, it was scripted. Oh.
Yeah, basically.
I thought it was.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I tried to go through the window. Basically, what I just did was I still had rivet ammo, so I basically just shot the splicers, but the fire still happened. So I'm like, oh, okay.
This bitch is moldy.
This person has been pickled. I see.
Now you know of the enemy we share, Sophia Lamb. The camera in your helmet allows me to watch through your eyes, but help you to fight her.
So for the most part, Sophia's just gonna be... She's basically acting as a replacement for Andrew Ryan, causing trouble, basically trying desperately to dissuade the player from succeeding, basically. So, you know, if depending on your tolerance for socialist bullshit, by the end of it, I think you're going to be like pulling your hair out, demanding that she dies.
I'm probably going to be pulling my hair out, especially since this is a fucking butterfly. It's obviously a fucking blue sky. Blue cry is more like it, your echo chamber.
It's kind of ironic. This game predicted blue skies. Like, you see, Digital Extremes knew what they were doing all those years ago.
Yeah, your ideas can only exist in a fucking echo chamber. As soon as it's given to the rest of Rapture, it fucking falls apart.
Careful.
Pretty much.
Security cameras
She even, like, you say that, and that is basically what it was.
They can be made
While she was, like, undermining Ryan, she actually had her supporters wear blue butterflies to signal that, hey, we're on your side. And it was a real problem at the time, too.
Yeah.
Which is odd as well, because in the game you...
Well, the reason I'm right about that is because it's like, I know how these fuckers work. And like, this is like, their ideas are inherently and fundamentally flawed. It's not surprising.
Yeah. Again, if your ideology can only survive in extreme conditions, and the moment it's breached, like, by some outside force, that means it was a weak ideology to begin with. Yeah. You know, it's like saying, oh, racism is good because
Yeah.
And then as soon as you confront it, it falls apart because it's like, oh, you have nothing to actually say.
Exactly. It's like, same reason why in fucking Mass Effect, the fucking, you know, you had the fucking racist Turian, you had the race, like, well, everyone in Mass Effect 1 was kind of racist to each other, but, you know, it's like, it was, that's why the Reapers were going to kill them until Shepard came along. It's like, hey, you guys gotta get your fucking shit together.
Yeah, and then, surprise, surprise, we stopped the Reapers. Congratulations. It's almost as if being a racist isn't the solution.
Yeah.
Father, it's me, Eleanor.
No, so I do like these little, like, things Eleanor is leaving you here and there. Because it shows that you have an ally out there actively trying to keep you
This
going.
plasmid is for you. If I'm right, you can use it now. Please, find me.
Who's that?
Who, the woman in the booth?
Is that one of the little sisters I rescued in Bioshock 1 coming to talk to me? Does this have like some Mass Effect thing where because of the choices?
No. The girl who's speaking to you in your head, basically, that's Eleanor. That's the child. That's basically Delta's daughter, essentially.
Oh.
And she's grown up since then, obviously, and she's actively trying to help you and save you from something terrible that's going to happen. So, like any loving kid, she's trying to save her parents, while he's trying to save his daughter. So just like Bioshock 1 as well, you get the telekinesis plasmid and the electrical, which is so honestly quite such a good thing as well, because these are arguably the most useful ones. And now I'm wondering, are you going to do the same thing with like you did in Bioshock 1? Just throw the corpses. Just picturing that, it's like, hey, here, catch this! Ah, God! He's throwing people at us!
So they seem to have nerfed the, like, you actually lose a lot more when you throw now.
Yes. So a lot of the plasmids have been tweaked, and this was in response to how people played Bioshock 1, since a lot of people just basically just use the plasmids versus the guns. So this is more of like to balance things out. So the plasmids are more of utility than flat out, this is what I'm going to be using for the rest of the game and nothing else.
These people are hooked on some kind of genetic wonder drug called Adam.
Like, I don't know if that's an overcorrection to basically something that, is what the player did regardless. But at the same time, I can see why you kind of want to do this.
I had a gun, but
because you are going to be getting a lot of new toys, so,
Sophia Lamb is using the splicers against you. Most big daddies are like her slaves, guarding the little ones. But someone has awakened you.
Yes, and that's another thing as well.
I know of your bond
the
with Eleanor
fetch
Delta.
questy nature
To
from
save
Bioshock 1
yourself,
has basically
you
been
will
gutted,
come for her.
so it's a little bit more
But
objective
Eleanor
based
has a
this time
destiny,
around.
one you cannot share. There is no place for you in paradise.
So we aren't going to be like stuck in one place for like hours on end being like, oh my god, can we please get a move on, Which is fucking fantastic if you ask me.
You can't have the fucking, you only can have 5 E-typos.
Yes. So this game really does go out of its way to basically, what's the word? Like, just like with Bioshock 1, you are more limited with your resources and things like that. But the difference is that, just like in Bioshock 1, you will have the ability to increase your natural carry capacity and all this stuff with the Gatherer's Garden. Which, by the way, when it comes to the Little Sisters, there is a new mechanic that changes the dynamics slightly.
My study of natural law for the worship of competition. Remember, Eleanor, one must know the beast before.
As you can see as well with Dr. Lamb, typical pure kind of like commie mentality, social mentality.
So she's a fucking, she's like Anita Sarkeesian going into gaming companies and subverting them within to destroy them and turn them into one-sided propaganda for her bullshit.
Basically,
that's what
but
she's
it's
doing
more,
to Rapture. She thought, she couldn't even take down Andrew Ryan, his son did. So, you kind of failed at that. You talk about how you wanted to fucking subvert him and you fucking failed at it. Well, now you think she's fucking ruling over the ruins of Atlantis, a city that's going to be destroyed. Like, this is what you want to be the I guess, queen of? This fucking dumb?
Well, it's not, unfortunately, if it was only so easy. No, she has a completely different goal for all this. So she is one of the more, I don't want to say classical socialists, but it's someone who believes that the ego should be overcome, basically. what are they called? The utopian kind of socialist. You know, the type that is like, we need to bring down the old order and redefine everything so that way we can push ourselves forward to paradise, basically.
Where's my mark?
Just threw her mask off her.
It's like, give me that. That's fucking stupid. He just eats. Also, when compared to the previous level of Bioshock 1, this entire build-up, like the elevator and everything, is basically a one-to-one kind of like recreation. You know, it's a scale of like, hey, this is how bad the situation is. This is what it's going to be like. Brace yourself, you know.
Yeah.
Which again, I kind of like. It's like it encourages. It's like, you know, it's like poetry. It rhymes, to quote George Lucas.
Jesus, their faces are all like. It looks like they've had. Oh wait, that might be a victim of the doctor.
No. This is. It is exactly what you're saying. This is extreme plasmid use. They are breaking down completely at the genetic level. Basically, this is like the end result of overuse of plasmids. They are rotting, decaying, they're covered in cancerous cells, leading to extreme growths. It's worse now than it's ever been before, because at least back then, in the first game, it wasn't that bad. Here it's like, oh no, it is as bad as you can imagine.
You are a very old Big Daddy, bonded for life to a single little one. When you are apart for too long, your body begins to shut down like a coma. As long as the girl is in rapture, you are trapped here as well. The name of your little one is Eleanor Lamb.
And there's basically what's happening.
She is kept at Fontaine Futuristics on the other side.
There's a reason why the Alpha series stopped getting
You must go there and save her before it is too late.
He is bonded to Eleanor, and Eleanor is bonded to him. And the longer the two are apart, the weaker Delta becomes. Just like Tenenbaum said, the body will start to shut down, he'll go into a coma, and then he'll eventually die. And this will happen if his connection to the little sister goes on too long. If Eleanor dies, then this can actually be accelerated, or he might actually go completely insane and become an animal, basically. Nothing but rage and instinct. So, yeah, that's why the Protector series, you know, the Alpha series Protectors, weren't as useful as the other variants, basically. That also said, this was back before Suchong figured out the whole little sister, big daddy trust issue, basically. So the idea was to basically make it so the bond is lethal. You know, a parent protecting his kid, but if the parent doesn't protect the kid, the parent just dies, basically.
Picking up the slack that his carelessness left behind. We are gaining steam again, but I'm not satisfied. Yes, the Big Daddy defends the girl, but he is programmed only for the fight. Like a sheepdog who wanders off unless a wolf is tearing at his flock. When no aggressor is present,
and there's Gil Alexander, which basically, as he puts it, once Suchong got killed, ironically, by, what's the word? By the Big Daddy, Gil basically took over the Alpha, the Big Daddy production, basically. So he's the reason why the Alpha series kind of took a life of its own in a different direction, essentially. Again, it's the small details like this that really does show that life in Rapture kind of continued, even with Suchong not being there. The work just continued. It just went with a different person completely. Which, again, is kind of ironic and kind of indicative of the real world when you think about it that way. Just because the big boss dies, that doesn't mean the company goes with them, you know. And yes, we actually get a better look at Dr. Tenenbaum 10 years removed, basically, which Frankly, I think she looks good like this.
Or something. And I have returned to rescue them. If I do not, more children will die for my sins.
Like she's old, she's tired, and yet, you know, she's turned over a new leaf. Like she's been redeemed to a certain extent.
This is Subject Delta. Behind that mask hides an enemy of the people. Without soul
Here comes the
or
fucking
sympathy.
propaganda.
It is a beast
CNN.
and as
Fucking
fat
representing
Here
me
comes
as an
the
evil
woman.
person for doing nothing
driving
wrong.
back into the sea.
Taking
Like,
shit out of
bitch,
context.
You took my fucking kit. What the
Place apart
fuck are
to
you
find
talking
you.
about?
Please hold back the splicers until we escape.
And yes, if you do look at the left hand, it does, like, partially you can see the Delta symbol on the back of the palm, which I think is a nice detail. This is another thing as well, you will be going through a lot more defensive sort of situations, which is why they kind of gave you the trap rivet gun. Or
Yeah,
the trap
so
hand.
usually when there's holdout sections to extend the time of the game, I noticed because I had to do the same shit.
Pretty much. The difference is that here it makes sense within like the context of certain games and things like that. But I also understand why they had to extend it because again, what's it called? The publisher didn't give the developers enough time to do it, so they had to kind of go with this route. Which sucks, but it's like, yeah, it makes sense. But yeah. So we basically are going to be seeing a lot more of this, and again, it's going to feed into the new mechanic of saving little sisters, unfortunately. But fortunately, it's
Now I
not
must
as
leave
like
you, and
dragged
I am
out.
sorry
These are
for
like
this,
minor bumps
But
on the road,
there
basically.
are others I must help before the city drowns. This man Sinclair, he is an ally, and will guide you to Eleanor. Goodbye, Herr Delta.
And
Good
yes,
luck.
we have a new companion for this adventure, Mr. Sinclair.
Well, look at you. A bona fide knight in armor, complete with iron horn.
Now, Sinclair's a bit of a
The name's
businessman,
Augustus
basically,
Sinclair,
but
sport,
not the ethical
Esquire.
kind. Basically,
Old Tannenbaum and I
likes
share
to
an
strike
interest
up a
in the old
deal, but a
Fontaine
deal
building,
that favors
the very
him.
same place
But he's
you'll
fair
find
about it,
Eleanor
you know?
Lamb.
Like, if you shoot straight
I
with him,
think
he
you
shoots
and I
straight
can
with
do
you kind of
business.
deal.
Take the train to
Personally,
Ryan
I like,
Amusements. I'll see you shortly.
what's it called? Sinclair. I think he's a rather interesting character, and for the most part, I thought he was going to be another Fontaine Apple situation, but no, he's the, as they say, real McCoy. Yeah. Which is good, because it's like, finally, someone in Rapture I can, you know, trust slightly to make sure, like, trust to not screw me over at the first chance of
Now better apply the
profit.
brakes unless you're aiming to
And yes,
dash yourself against that glacier
for
up
this
ahead.
game, unlike Bioshock 1, it's not going to give you the ability to go back and go to previous levels. It is strictly, we are going from point A to point B. There is no backtracking. So for the little sisters, we got to save them all at every level.
Okay.
As you can see, Chief, the station here's iced over.
And
To
just like in
reach
Bioshock 1, it does
Eleanor
tell
Lamb
you
at
where the
Fontaine
little sisters
headquarters,
are.
We'll have to clear
And
the
there
way.
is a
Now,
save
in
or
order
kill
to melt
mechanic.
that ice, you'll need a plasmid like a handful of hellfire. We
So
used to sell a
gonna
fine
keep the
old
moral
product
streak
called
going, or
incinerate in the amusement
I'm
park
gonna
up yonder. Go on and
gonna
find
start
your way
killing
in.
children now.
I've already been on all the rides.
Okay, absolutely sandbag my question. All right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, my apologies.
There's,
No, I was joking and saying, so are you going to keep the good streak going, or just start killing kids now?
I don't see any reason to not fucking save them. Why the fuck did the game crash?
I don't know. As far as I've played it, it hadn't crashed for me, but the good thing is that you did save before there. So it's not like, oh my god, we gotta go back all the way from the start. It might have been what's it called? It could have been a memory issue. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, in Bioshock 1, it never crashed for us, did it?
Iced over.
No.
To reach Eleanor Lamb at Fontaine headquarters, we'll have to clear the way.
Oh,
now, in order to melt that ice, you'll need a plasmid, like a handful
So, by the way, we're in
sell a
currently
fine
Ryan
old product
Amusement.
called
So have you ever wanted to
In
go
the
to
amusement park
capitalist
up yonder,
Disneyland?
Go on and find a way in. I've already been on all
Yeah,
the
okay,
rides.
let's have fun then. I also like how they kind of invert the way you pick up plasmids for this one. In the first game, the important one was telekinesis. Now the important one is incinerate. Which I think is a nice little detail, to be quite frank. A little bit of a twist on its head. Again, I also love the fact that we see what socialism really is, and that is a cult to the insanity that is socialism.
Yeah, it's literally just a fucking cult. It's full of fucking atheists who think they're fucking... Well, it's just a cult for people. They say, oh, we're above religion, we're above Christianity, and they act like it's a fucking new religion for them, but they just don't want to admit it. They project everything they are onto other people.
The othering of your enemy makes it more justifiable for you to do awful, horrible things to them. Which is just terrible. But again, it's not surprising. Like we've said, it's not a mental state. It's just a religion that defies
You're a rare old model, son. Alpha series, I believe. Now, Rapture's full of scientific wonderments just like you. And if we can sell them to the world at my price,
sorry, I just had to sit up slightly. This new chair I've got is nice, but God, does it tend to like cramp my legs slightly. And yeah, you can actually see here what Sinclair's proposition, basically. You help him plunder, like, the secrets of Rapture, and he'll agree to, like, help you and kind of get you back on your feet, basically. Which I think, again, he's, like, being honest about what he's after. You know, no strings attached. Which, again, I appreciate in a shrewd businessman.
Now all I do is watch over it like a grizzled sheepdog. My first line of mechanical puppets made the children here cool with wonder. But Ryan thought my vision...
I just realized there's probably never a morning in Rapture, so that must fuck with you something fierce.
But instead, he turned it into a school.
Like being in space.
Cathedral, dedicated to himself.
But I mean, even in space, you can, like, the sun is out there, like, just position, like, the window side, and it's like, oh, it's sunlight, you know? But, like, we're in the Atlantic, like, several, like, fathoms below the sea, right? Sunlight can't pierce this far down, can it?
I don't think so.
Oof. God, no. That I couldn't live like that, I'm gonna be honest. I would, like, go crazy within a month.
That'll get you in the park. But buying Incinerate's gonna cost Adam. It's a sort of genetic goo that lets you rewrite whatever God gave you. The Little Sisters carry the stuff, as you may recall, so you'll need to locate one. I heard whispering near the El Dorado Lounge.
Yes, and
have a look.
There you go. Like I said, you get your the game gives you the next big weapon, and that is this this fucking minigun.
It's a 50 cal minigun. Oh, look at well, it's not the same revolver from Bioshock 1. It's a bit more thicker, and that's the Tommy gun.
Yeah. So for this adventure, you are not going to be using any of the traditional guns, because you won't encounter many Big Daddies with this weapon. They basically give you the ability to like loot Tommy guns off of the splicers, and that gives you ammunition for the minigun, basically. But that's again, that's more of a gameplay concession. Also, if you do the main, it crashed again, didn't it?
Yeah.
What is going on? Hold on a second. Let me check something here. I'm gonna look up this issue and see if it's a common problem. Bioshock 2 crashing Steam. Alright, let me see here. There is no fix. Save often. There's no device configured. Weirdly, the game only crashes. I play an hour or two without saving. We haven't even been going at this for an hour yet, have we? I mean, actually, no, I take that back. We almost have. Okay. Hold on. While you sort with that, I'll look into the problem on this end and see if there's a solution. There's no fix often is the only device. Weirdly, change. Okay, so one of these is. Did you try changing the texture streaming limit? I changed it to 2048, and I haven't crashed. Check the second option, which is hold on. Edit the folder path. Okay, hold on. I'll send this to you. Hold on 1 second. Alright, just give me like 5 seconds while I get my Steam or my Discord to work for a second. Let me see. Oh, this is a oof. This is a whole thing here. Hopefully you can do one of these options that's not like too invasive. I know what subtitle we're gonna give this part, the crashing.
Okay, I don't know, this is a fucking... I don't know, a lot of Steam games are like this sometimes.
Well, I mean, this is an old game as well, so it's not like future-proofed.
How old?
Which is strange. Well, it's like 2000... Actually, let me Google that real quick. Hold on. Release date. So this game was released in... It couldn't have been that long. Oh, Jesus. February the 9th, 2010. So this game is roughly 15 years old. Oh God! And there's the depression. It's come back with a vengeance.
Holy shit!
Yeah. It's no wonder it can't handle it. It's literally just a case of like this game wasn't future-proofed, and I don't blame them. I mean, did anyone imagine they would still be playing a game like this so well into the future? Let alone what kind of hardware we'd be rocking now.
Wait, Mass Effect 3 is an Unreal Engine 3 game?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you think about it because it looks so damn interesting.
Well, it says that like it says that other games like Mass Effect 3 and Blacklight, Reputation, they also had crash issues, but that's linked. But because I'm changing the streaming limit, I guess.
So, from what I'm seeing from the list here, again, I am sorry that I can't send it right away. My Discord is acting up; it's kind of like frozen. It has something to do with like the texture rate and something like that.
Yeah,
so
I think it's kind of similar to GTA 5, where it has a set like memory limit, where if it goes above that, it crashes the game. And for a lot of mods, you have to increase that so you can actually like run them because they import like high poly models.
Right. Actually, ironically enough, I think I encountered that this exact same thing on my Steam Deck, but that was only at a specific point. And I think what it was is that it was in one of the later levels. There was a little sister like gathering Adam, and then as I'm fighting the splicers, I think there were just too many models on screen, and that just led to the crash. But that was like the only crash I had with the game recently that I can think of. Which, Jesus. I mean, this, again, if this has been going on for years now, because the post I'm getting this from is from 2014, this means that this problem's been persistent for about 5 years when it initially released. And again, 15 years since, well, even then. What the hell is happening with my... You know, I'm going to try and send it over on my phone. Hold on. Gonna do something specific. Alright. So do this. Discord. Share to. What the fuck? Why is it saying no results found? Oh, because I'm not logged in on my phone. Rev, you idiot. It's not easy being me. Alright, there we go. I've sent it. So the solutions are here. So one of them is the DirectX 10 disabling, which is mostly like just doing it in the Steam properties menu and then going into the game. Yeah, here it is. You also need to change texture streaming distance limit from the whatever it's currently to 10,000 basically, and that should fix part of the problem.
Yeah, I've done that. I don't know. What does DirectX 10 do? Is it important?
I will look that up right now because I'm not much of a tech person. Hold on, DirectX. X10. Okay, DirectX 10 is a version of the DirectX API that introduces significant changes to how graphics and multimedia applications interact with Windows. So it's an API running, basically. So basically, like reads. If I'm understanding,
I'll disable it as well.
Okay.
It should prevent the game from crashing because of a lack of VRAM. Okay, I've changed the streaming size, save, and I'm going to put the display capture back on. See if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it works, because it really sucks to have to deal with this.
Yes, but again, that's the beauty of these old games, is that it's a learning experience and that you slowly
have to clear the way. Now, in order to melt that ice, you'll need to plasma it like a handful of hellfire.
Well, let me take a look at the stream. It can't possibly be that fucking... Oh my god!
It's called...
Oh, this is
I'm turning back the DirectX on.
Oh, I call this clay vision.
And it gives me flashbacks to how modern AAA games always ask to fucking like stream textures, and you have to download them, otherwise they look like that.
Yeah. It's like, what is it? It's these textures are deep fried. God.
As you can see, Chief, the station here is iced over.
I mean,
To
at
reach
least the thing
Eleanor
didn't
Lamb at
explode.
Fontaine
That's always a
headquarters, we'll
possibility.
have to clear the way. Now, in order to melt
What?
that
There's still
ice,
shit.
you'll need a
What's going
plasmid, like a
on?
handful of hellfire. We used to sell
What
a
did I
fine old
do?
product called Incinerate in the amusement park up
I'm
yonder.
worried now.
Oh my fucking god.
Just trying to figure out what might have happened. You said you reactivated DirectX 11.
10.
Or 10, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So it should be running. Hold on. Let me see what else I can see. Maybe just that.
Actually, I might be able to install the same thing I used to fix SFM's memory limits. Alright, let's see. So, it's essentially, it's like a memory thing. I just need to figure out where to install it. Because I remember... DXVK Bioshock 2.
It should resolve some of it. But oh boy. Again, people, the things you do to get something like this running, it's always insane.
I mean, the fucking comments asked, they said, oh, can you use this? Well, I am, and, they don't even tell me how to where to put it.
Oh, son of a bitch. Oh, boy. Let me think. God, it sounds like these. I wish I was actually more technically inclined. Hold on. Ugh. Maybe no, that wouldn't work. Pain in the ass. I need to think on this a bit more. Nope, I got nothing.
Okay, I'm gonna try something here. See if that helps.
And honestly, I should probably put up I should probably create a technical difficulties like image for whenever these things happen. So at least that way, there's like the black screen is like covered with like, hey, here's this overlay.
Yeah. We'll see if that fixed it.
As you can see, Chief, the station here's iced over. To reach Eleanor Lamb at Fontaine headquarters, we'll have to clear the way. Now, in order to melt that ice, you'll need a plasmid, like a handful
That's right, the textures are still underbaked.
We used to sell
it's
a
gonna be like,
old
oh
product
god.
called Incinerate in the amusement park up yonder. Go on and find a way in.
Now everything's broken.
I think what you're gonna need to do now, or probably is, I think, how do I put it? You may need to, what's it called? Verify the integrity of the game cache on Steam.
Okay.
Oh dear. It might take a few seconds. Again, mostly because Bioshock 2 isn't that much of a graphically intense, well, not graphically intense, a large game. There shouldn't be too much of a big issue. It's like every other game we play. It's something like this always happens. Like, oh, we'll play some Halo. Nope, doesn't work. And then we're able to do Resident Evil without any problems.
I was actually excited to play Halo.
Well, again, we can still do it. It's more on my end that I gotta figure shit out than anything else. Because, I'd probably have to set up the other computer, and I might just set that up in the living room. Because why not at that point? Oh dear. Let me try something. So, how to fix Bioshock 2 textures. It says here. And yeah, it looks like you have to increase the streaming memory limit in Bioshock 2. That probably would fix the textures and get it back up to speed.
The station here's iced over.
Okay, I think I fixed it?
Hopefully. I mean, so long as the computer isn't exploding and Rapture hasn't despawned, I think we're fine. We're fine.
To reach Eleanor Lamb at Fontaine headquarters, we'll have to clear the way.
Let's take a look at the screen.
Now, in order to melt that ice, you'll need a plasmid, like a handful of hellfire. We used to sell a fine old product called Incinerate in the amusement park up yonder. Go on and find a way in. I've already been on all the rides.
Oh yeah, there we go. But for the most part, I think still saving the game might be the best thing moving forward.
fucking clown!
Just to be careful.
You're the gift.
You're a rare old model, son. Alpha series, I believe. Now, Rapture's full of scientific wonderments just like you. And if we can sell them to the world at my price, well, curing your condition ought to be a cakewalk. Once we find Eleanor, the sky's the limit.
But yeah, at least now we're back to the general track and we know what we're doing here. Again, which I appreciate. Trying to make Delta feel like a different character is always welcomed.
Yeah.
Also, I like the little trap you set up too. It's like, I know someone's going to be here to break the minigun out, so I might as well set this up now.
I was hired to engineer a park the likes of which no man has seen.
Hopefully that doesn't break the game's scripting, because if it does, then that's going to be kind of funny. It's like, no, that splicer was important. He was necessary for plot progression.
Ryan thought my vision was immature. Antiquated, he said.
Oh god, that reminds me of something the Co-optional podcast
But
did.
instead, he turned it into a school.
Oh, by the way, speaking of that old podcast group, I actually wound up playing Cyberpunk a while ago, and I ran into Jesse Cox in the fucking game.
That'll get you in the park.
Of course, I couldn't.
But buying
So
incinerate's gonna
back
cost
in the early days of
It's a sort of
YouTube, you know,
genetic
like the
goo
start of the
that lets you
whole,
rewrite whatever
I hate
God
to say
gave
this,
The
Gamergate
little
era,
sisters
basically.
carry stuff, as you
Jesse
may
Cox
recall,
was
so you'll need
with
to
those
locate
like
one.
video
I heard
game,
whispering near
like
the
journalists who
Eldorado
were
Lounge.
actually ethical.
Have a
Like
look.
these were the guys who were trying to make games better, basically, and actively trying to do what's right. But Jesse's a very fair weather kind of person. Basically, it's always kind of goes with the flow. But the main thing is that he was able to speak with CD Projekt Red, and they liked him, so they added him into the fucking game as two NPCs. And of course, you can't kill either of them, because why not? The reason why I bring it up is because apparently, at some point they were talking about games where they killed characters for the developers and shit like that, and like, no, you can't do that. And then they're like, well, if they're important, you shouldn't let us kill them. And like, are you fucking kidding me? You're the reason why we can't have any fun.
Yeah.
Also good. I'm sorry, I just looked at the stream. The best just fell over dead. It's like, ooh.
Welcome to Ryan Amusement. Now, half price for children under 3.
Yeah. So the minigun, basically, as you can probably feel, is fast. It's a fast shooting weapon. Recoils like a motherfucker, but pretty decent for what you want it to do. Which is just, shoot the fuck out of enemies. I also like the animation of the melee strike animation, which is just basically you whipping the whole gun across their fucking face.
Yeah.
I am Andrew Ryan.
Which I absolutely adore.
Welcome to Ryan Amusement.
It's like, if you have a big gun, you might as well just hit people with it like a giant fucking hammer.
Please.
Or in your case, do a slow build-up animation and just hit them over the head with it. And yeah, welcome to Ryan Amusements. So basically, this entire section is basically Ryan's vanity project to indoctrinate children to be like, oh, you should hate the surface, basically.
Andrew Ryan wakes one night.
As well as like a history lesson, it's like how he discovered this perfect location to build Rapture.
Here, he turns to his crewman as he wipes sleep from his eyes. Full stop.
Which isn't surprising. Hell, there's even a audio log you can find about the person who created the animatronics for this place, basically complaining that he wanted to do all these crazy things, and Ryan was like, no, we need to make it basically a schoolhouse for me.
Nicknamed the Sinker, ferries supplies and workers to the sea floor, fathoms below. After initial supplies have been brought to the seafloor, the platform is permanently moored in the sediment. Massive iron girders are sunk hundreds of feet into the rock and silt.
Below the platform, engineers work to overcome obstacles such as diamond-hard rock, obstinate sea life, and unexpected peril.
That's basically everything at its core, essentially. Again, the amount of money he must have sunk into building this place must have been insane, especially for like the 50s.
Yeah.
Again, let it never be said that Ryan wasn't at the very least dedicated to his goals. Which actually, speaking of that, I want to check something real quick. Is hamster rapture still a thing?
I don't know.
Let's see. Is it still going? Let me check the news.
Mean. You're mean, Roger. Your clumsy, fat hands that loused it up.
Typical.
Yeah, no, apparently that's...
Stay away from things you don't know nothing.
Yeah, it's apparently still going on. He's still going at it as a proof of concept.
Non-believer, you defile the lamb!
Yeah.
If only he had the capital, he could actually make the real rapture, and then we'd be living there and be like, "Fuck you, Sir Citizen."
You still haven't experienced Ryan
But no, instead, it's like I must be basic man and have hamster rapture instead, which is nice. Yeah, but for the most part, we're just kind of doing a little exploration round here. Again, which I kind of like. It's a decent way to kind of like get you reacclimatized to how things in Bioshock tend to work.
Yeah.
I think you're also going to get a few original plasmids as well, which, if that's the case, it's pretty impressive.
Somewhere outside the city limits, he simply vanished. For these men, rapture has no walls.
Excuse me, I have to... Sorry, I'm going to eat something because, God, I'm starving.
Something physical, possibly even lethal. The lab aides are starting to call them big daddies. Perhaps there's some genius to that. Bonded pairs, connected by a love that kills.
Actually, hold on, I might mute myself for a bit. Bear with me one quick second.
Journey to the surface. What the fuck?
I got better things to do. Fuck! I don't know.
Quick question. Sorry to kind of butt in for a second.
Yeah.
Eloy wants to know if they can join the call.
What's that?
Sure. I mean, he's not gonna like.
No. Talk about the skinned body out by the KFC.
Yeah. Here, let me. Hold on, I gotta tab out so I can change it. Well, I should probably have a shower, like, because I would have it after the stream, but it's like my parents get like my fucking dad's girlfriend was giving me shit because it's like, oh, it's like you should shower at normal times. It's like, come the fuck on, man. You tell me you don't care if I'm all up in the fucking these times and. All right, he can join. I'm just gonna go have a shower for 5 minutes. I'll be right back.
All right, are we still live?
Wait, what? Rev?
All right, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not? Hold on, I'll go. Oh no, I'm still here. I was just asking. It's like, are we still live? Okay, I'll just assume we are. All right. Let me see if I can't add Lloyd to this call, just to be on the safe side. Bear with me 1 quick second. Boop. Actually, it might be easier to just type it. It's not easy being me, master of my own indignities. I have responsibility. It's not easy being me. It's being harder when you're large. It's the problems of the large. Yo-ho. Got my own destiny. It's not easy being me. Oops. Wrong person. I had a feeling that was the case. I always fuck that up. It's not easy being me. Master of my own indignities. I have responsibility. Oh, it's not easy being me. There we go.
Hello?
Yes, hi, welcome. So we're still technically live.
Oh.
Yeah, hello. He's just gone off to... No, you're good.
I didn't know there was stream. Yeah, I was like, oh snap, y'all doing stream stuff. Oh.
Yeah, I said it literally in the message. Yeah, I said, by the way, we're streaming Bioshock 2.
Yeah, I was kind of worried. I was like, you know what, let's just go for it.
Again, as long as we keep it above board, and by that I mean just PG, I think we'll be fine. But yeah, we've just run into some problems because it's an old... By the way, this game is 15 years old. Do you feel old yet?
Yes. I've already felt old plenty of times because, wow, I haven't played a lot of the games that were coming out during the late 2000s, early 2010s. I grew up seeing a lot of their trailers on TV.
Yes, but again, it's like I think that's with everyone. Basically, ooh, excuse me, didn't mean to belch into the microphone. Sorry, I was eating something a moment ago. I think that's what it was for a lot of people back then. Like, we saw the trailers online or on television. We're like, oh, that's so fucking cool. And then we never bothered watching it again. We went back to whatever we were playing at the time because, let's face it, we were all broke kids. We didn't have money.
I was very broke. I didn't really own. Like, I was gifted consoles, and unfortunately, those consoles got lost to time, and I didn't end up getting another console until like I was like around 10 to 11. Like, I had consoles back when I had like the last console I had before I had like a Wii, that was Wii and stuff, that was the GameCube, and that was like back during like 2000. I was like in elementary school. So like I had to wait till like the tail end of my elementary school to like get back to like owning a console myself. I mostly relied on like other family members or like other
Right.
to
Yeah, that was the case with me, where it's like I had siblings who lived with other people, other parts of the family, basically. And whenever I would visit, they would have some different console. I was mostly PlayStation, so I had the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, and then the PlayStation 3 growing up. My brother was more the Xbox kind of kid, so he wound up playing more of the typical, like, Xbox 360, Xbox Classic, all that sort of shit. He had a Nintendo 64. Go ahead.
Yeah, my cousins were more of a wild card, and I can really appreciate that. They didn't really care that much about like which console brand was it. It was more like, oh, whatever the cool console is that's interested at the time, we're gonna get that. Oh, the cool one is the PlayStation 2. We're getting the PlayStation 2. Oh, but the Xbox is also popular. We're getting that too.
Yeah, basically,
Like, yeah, stuff like that. I think that
yeah.
sucks
You go
for
ahead.
consoles. It was more so like unfortunately, the games that they buy, because most of the games that they had were not really my cup of tea. They mostly would play either sports games. Well, at the time, they were my cup of tea. Like sports simulation games during like the mid 2000s, early 2000s, mid 2000s were still pretty good. Uh,
Mhm.
though the first person shooters, which they were playing that ad nauseum alongside stuff like Grand Theft Auto, I did not care for. I veered away from it. There'll be one instances where they may have like a Crash Bandicoot, Wrath of Cortex, or a Sly Cooper, and or Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm playing. I'm enjoying my time as
Right.
Amaterasu. I don't know. I don't know what command inputs to do, but hey, I love Amaterasu. I love the dog. I love the sun dog.
Yeah, basically for me it was because, again, my brother mostly lived with our grandparents, and he was, I don't know how he managed it, but he was always able to convince them to get him these things, because he also lived with a lot of our uncles, and our uncles were big into games as well. And one of the big things about it was is that my brother always wound up getting like these things for the PlayStation as well. He had a PlayStation 2 as well, but he had a larger game collection than I had. Mostly because I was more doing my own thing at the time, and I'm not going to get into that. But point was, he had all this going on, and the biggest irony is that because he always wanted to prove he was more mature than he was, he always wound up getting into our father's game collection and getting his hands on things with more adult orientated themes to it. So one of them was Resident Evil, the original games, and he also wound up playing this. I don't know if anyone here has ever played it, but it was this incredibly obscure game called Shadow Man, and he had the second one, which was it's the one with the goofy title because it's supposed to be Shadow Man, the second coming, or like second, like something like that, right? But it was during that time era where people were like, let's put the sequel number somewhere in the actual word because it's cool. So it just became
That was
Shadow Man.
hilarious.
Yeah, it became Shadow Man Sec like Sec 2 Hecking Coming, and it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense now. But my brother would get these kinds of games, and I'm going to be frank, and yes, I'm putting you on blast. On the off chance he ever hears that, I am going to do that. He was a fucking chicken. He got spooked so fucking hard with these games. He would run away from the screen. He would get completely paranoid by it, and my grandparents would always pick on him for it. It's like, oh yeah, you played this fucking game. You got to deal with it. I'm like,
Yeah, like I don't blame them one bit. Like I knew not to mess with them because I especially know like at that age and even now to a certain extent, I'm a little scaredy I'm a scaredy bitch. I'm scared.
yeah.
It's it's very easily for me to get scared, especially when I was that, especially when like depending if you're an easily scared person and you're like that age, like dude, like I'm not touching no M-rated game. I'm already petrified at the idea of even thinking about turning on the original Xbox when it's nighttime and all the lights are off. That's nightmare fuel.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Shadow Man is that this is a notoriously dark game series. It only ever had 2 games, but the second one went super try hard mode. We're talking like disturbing visuals and shit like that. Just really really messed up sort of like stuff to really kind of hammer it home. I've never liked the Shadow Man games because it's a weird like sort of situation where it's like because these games. So the first one came out in like the PlayStation 1, Nintendo 64. They had to like ramp up the disturbing appearance of a lot of things, so a lot of it just came off as like. To me, it's like needlessly detailed in the, like as weird as it sounds. It's needlessly like awful to me, and it kind of repels me.
Kind of like Mortal Kombat, but without the kind of self-aware goofiness that it has.
Yes, basically. Like we would like it's like it's like you would see like for example, you would enter a room and then you would just see like this body splayed open, the rib cage torn open, like just gore falling out of it, and just again, it's low poly, it's pixels. It shouldn't be disturbing, but because of that, they had to make up with it for a lot of the more specific details. And it's like, ugh, no, thank you. The second game's a lot worse with that because it's a slightly higher fidelity game, and so they could get away with a lot more disturbing visuals and iconography. And my brother and I, we tried to play through this game, but the thing is that we're both stupid, by the way, like flat out. We didn't know what the fuck we were doing. And it was just getting to a point where my brother was getting like annoyed by it, and I was just more just like I don't want to say I was getting like frightened by it, but I was like getting disturbed by the game. So I was like, can we just do something else? I want to say it was that game that kind of led him away from the PlayStation and more towards the Xbox, because that was like the console that's like, oh, this is for mature gamers, and it's not like disturbing shit unless you
really hammering that home. They really were hammering that home with the Xbox. Like, oh my gosh.
I mean, I think it was the Gears of War's craze that caused that with the Xbox.
Oh, that was ironically enough, that was with 360. Yeah, I thought you were referring to the OG Xbox. The OG Xbox was trying so hard to be like edgy and such. Like I mentioned before, like I was scared to even turn the original Xbox on because that startup animation to me is very creepy. They're like, oh, they did that just to make the consoles be otherworldly. Yeah, that's the problem. It did the opposite effect. I wasn't amazed. I was terrified.
Yeah, and that's basically like the big thing with me. Like at the time, that's what drove my brother to the Xbox and then the 360. For the Xbox, it was Halo 1 basically on the original that got him to be like, oh, I should start playing Xbox games because the disturbing nature was toned down, especially with like Halo. But it was Gears of War that officially cemented him, and I remember this as well. I was at my cousin's house, and my cousin. By the way, I want to say this: his house was fucking weird. It was like a 3-story house, but the 3rd story was just this tiny shack on the roof, basically, and then this like the bottom like floor sunk into the basement. It was like a dungeon, but large enough to like actually fit like another small living space. And it was, like I said, that fucking house was weird, and I just remember bits and pieces of it, but it was still odd. And my brother, we would go to his house frequently because he had even more crazy gamer shit going on. So we would play GTA. Well, my brother would play GTA. I would watch it and be fascinated by it. And we got a chance to play Gears of War 1. And it was this. I remember this very clearly because I was on the computer watching Newgrounds stuff at the time because my cousin had it open and I was curious about what he was looking at. And my brother and him were trying to play Gears of War to a specific level where it was basically the corpser fight with the giant spider creature. And my brother was getting pissed because he was under the impression that it was like a standard boss fight where you had to kill the creature, right? And he was getting angry. My cousin was getting angry because neither of them could like do anything, and then they say, I'm looking over like, hey, what's going on, right? And they feel like, oh, we can trick him to do this, right? So they tell me, if you want to give it a shot, give it a shot, expecting me to fail completely. For about a few minutes, I was fascinated with the gore mechanics of the game. I remember like shooting a locust and like blowing off his arms and things. Like, I was just fascinated because I had never seen that level of detail before in any game at the time. And then I went to the Corpser fight, and I had no trouble with it because I kind of picked up on it quickly that this was like, it wasn't even a fight. It was just wait for it to raise its arms, go through the gaps, shoot the head, repeat. And roughly like after that first attempt, I got it to like go into the thing. It's like, oh, it's done, and they just give me this look of like, what the fuck? Like they're angry that A, I didn't fail, B, I managed to succeed where they were stumped at, and C, that it was such a simple solution. They had overthought it so badly that it led them to just completely and utterly make themselves look like idiots. And I'm just like, what's the problem? And of course my cousin's like, give me that, like yanks the controller in my hand, and I don't care at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm just go back to my cartoons over here.
Hey, wow, got butthurt just because the younger sibling was able to figure out something that you couldn't.
Oh no, I wasn't the younger one. I was the oldest sibling out of that entire group.
Oh,
it was more of a case.
But still,
like,
though, that's still lame. That's still lame, though. Like, getting upset over your sibling just because, oh, you were able to do it better. Like,
yeah, again, my brother. Like I said, my brother and I, we get along fine, but he is a bit of an idiot at times because he's so stuck up on his own ways. He thinks if the solution is this, he'll go for it. Like again, Halo, for example, we were on the silent cartographer for a bit, and he kept dying because he kept trying to bum rush the entire thing and just trying to run past everything, get to the end of the level because he just didn't want to fight the flood because he thought it was just too annoying from what the original was. And we were playing together, and every time I just said, like, look, let's just hunker down for a little bit and clear the waves, he'd just rush ahead and say, no, keep going, and just pressuring me to keep running with him, basically. And to the point where, like, even my uncle's like, stop it, you're not getting any, there's no progress being made, you're just wasting time at this point. And I don't remember what else happened after that. I remembered, like, I think I left at that point because my father was like, hey, we got to go somewhere. So I think at that point we just left, and I never saw the rest of the silent cartographer after that. And it would be years later before I would actually like to find out what happened. Sorry, something just happened.
I strayed away from most mature games, like at the young age. Even when I was, like I was getting like to like my teenager phase, I still strayed away from mature games. Mainly because it didn't help that like the stigma for most mature games in like the U.S. stuff were being the things that were being pushed was just first-person shooters. And look, I understand that like was a very obviously that every like it has like an oversaturation of the genre.
Yeah.
That was the oversaturation of first-person shooters, because oh my gosh, like there was so many first-person shooters. Not only that, but I just didn't like it because one, realism, because it's just like I play a video game. I don't really care that much about like real life situations in video games that much. Even if as long as I don't really mind it at the end of the day, just as long as you handle it well. But the big thing is that they all look the same, because they all were just like, oh, military. Or like, guns and stuff, like same color scheme and stuff. I'm like, nothing stands out with you guys. You all look the same. And that's why I didn't really still didn't have a forte with mature games until I saw what Japan was doing. And I was like, wow, y'all are making your mature games actually interesting. And then other games that aren't from Japan, like Sunset Overdrive, which that was just like, oh, that's an M-rated game. I didn't know M-rated games could look that colorful.
And be silly. Well, Sunset Overdrive was created by Insomniac, and they have fun with like whatever project they make. So it's like,
they all
that's the exception. Yeah, for me, what it was is that I've always been a very serious person. Again, I used to work for my grandfather's security firm, So I had to, as I often say to a lot of people, I didn't grow up. I just grew old, basically. And so a lot of that came with welcome back.
I apologize for the late. Now we can get back to
No, you're
stream.
fine. No, you're good. You're good. We were just kind of discussing the whole situation with video games and like mature games and things like that. What I was going to say is that for me, when it came to mature games, I basically got like introduced to mature games relatively early in my life, and I just found it more interesting because again, these games could tell an interesting story, and I was always interested in the kind of like sort of semi-real stories they could tell, like Haze or Time Shift, and there was of course like some exceptions with like the sillier stuff, like you had your time splitter games and all this kind of like crazy shit basically, but that's the exception, not really the rule. I do agree that there was an oversaturation of first-person shooters, and ironically, to kind of bring it back to the stream, Bioshock is no exception to that rule. It is basically just the same thing. It's a first-person shooter, but at least it's trying to be original with its aesthetic, the weaponry you're using, all that kind of stuff.
Plus, it was a single-player first-person shooter at that.
True.
It's not primarily pushing for a multiplayer aspect, even if the options are there.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bioshock 2 does have a multiplayer deathmatch thing. I don't think you can play it as it used to be anymore, and I think that's purely because the servers are down. It's like you have to do LAN connections. Plus, it wasn't anything like what's it called, revolutionary. It was just purely, hey, it's just deathmatch with a twist on it, and even then, it's not like something groundbreaking, Yeah, which I don't mind. I think it's fine as it is. We're just going through Ryan Amusements right now. This sort of like, what if Disneyland but underwater? Yeah, which I think is fine. Still on the topic of like the first-person shooters and things, I think if you do a first-person shooter that's interesting, it could work. But it's one of those things where it's like you really gotta try and stand out of the crowd,
I think the biggest thing when it comes to Bioshock is that it was the first time where I kind of hesitated just being feared over a big big monster, because I was around
now that Big Daddy won't fight until you do. But to get to Lil Sis, you gotta put the old boy down for
now,
good.
obviously, you hear the ominous, the unnerving ambience.
Yeah.
And, the background and stuff like that. And then you see, obviously the big drill guy. And
Big Dad, yeah.
Yeah, Big Dad. I was terrified as a kid, but then I noticed Big Dad, was protecting,
little sister,
girl and
yeah.
stuff. Had a little sister. And that was the first game where, with a mature game, I didn't, seeing some of the games really, where I just get hesitated instead of getting it out. Yeah, why are we it reminded me so much of Sully and Lost 8. Itself just hesitated. It was why? It's clearly protected.
Take a breath, son.
It's basically
just let her ride on your shoulder.
Yeah, it's essentially
like her own daddy.
what's it called? It's essentially the case of this isn't it's a monster. It's just defending what's right, basically, and it makes you realize wow, this it's more complex. The situation and the whole thing is more nuanced than we realized.
Now there are
also
corpses all over Rapture,
single
and
digits.
little Dimples there can sniff out the atom.
Funnily enough, to kind of bring it back to the stream and the gameplay, what Doran's is doing. Yes, this is what I was talking about before, about the whole, the game has a completely different mechanic for the little sister rescuing. where basically you have to, you can adopt the little sister and collect Adam from the corpses she finds, or you can harvest them flat out and just skip the entire protection mission. So you remember how in Bioshock 1 you did the whole proving ground stuff with the little sister you were protecting?
Collection. Give it away.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't.
I'm sorry, it's hard to hear you over the game sometimes.
Oh, my apologies. But yeah, basically that's kind of the idea. The whole game is basically the proving
Speaking
ground
of which, I realized I forgot to change. Hold on, I gotta fix this. I forgot to make it so it's your audio is louder than the game's, and the game is the smaller of the audios.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, basically the whole gameplay mechanic is just that you're defending the little girl while she's collecting Adam, and then vice versa. But you're doing it twice, and after that you have the ability to then rescue or harvest. So it gives you that option. Again, I mentioned this in Bioshock 1 when we did a playthrough for that. This game got a lot of flack for the whole you can kill children in this thing, which is always a social taboo, and for good reason,
Yeah, for good reason, but I feel like that's very ironic because you're probably people who are...
She's got a juicy one, but when she starts draining out the Adam, those splicers will come running. Be ready before you set her down on that body.
Yeah, it's all it's hypocrisy at its worst core, and I think that's that's what a lot of people don't like, especially about modern day bullshit these days, with like infusing politics into games and shit like that, because it's nothing original, it's nothing new. It's the same puritanical bullshit we've been dealing with for years now, just on a new skin.
Yeah, the issue is just how, like, the repetition of it, because the politics is just going to be everywhere. Like, even way before it got way too out of hand.
Yeah.
Or quote-unquote and such. Like, there's always been some level of political background, not just games, but when it comes to media as a whole, like, because their whole purpose is to, like, tell a story in some way, whether that's via, like, the cutscenes itself or the game.
Right. That's completely fine. I think what people don't like is that if it's, like, adjacent to the story, like, as in, like, you're instead of proposing it as like I'm going to tell you a story and I'm going to trust you to come to your own conclusion. It's basically just saying I'm right, my concept is right, and if you don't agree with it, you're a bigot or whatever. And it's like, no, that's not how you do it.
I need first aid.
By the way, again, just like in Bioshock 1, if you die, you go back to the Vita chamber. But the problem is that if you die while the little sister's harvesting Adam, you will be, she has to start the process over. So they learned a lesson from the first game, so now in this one, you actively have to be careful with how little sisters are treated. Which I think is a brilliant idea, but hey, just me. But yeah, no, like I said, it's basically, you're not telling the story correctly if you have to basically try and force your audience to agree with you. And I think that's why a lot of these projects fail so
they never do politics right. Like, they don't represent both sides equally. They just strawman the other side and say, oh, my side is right. Like, it's not, like, intelligent, it's just mindless propaganda.
Yeah.
Over there.
And the thing is about, like, this propaganda is that it doesn't convert people to your movement. It just, like, it's just soapboxing to, like, your, like, side, It's like, it's not changing anyone's minds.
I feel like what really helps when it comes to, like, people who make soul stories is that when they clearly have, like, there's, like, obviously a political background. However, it's tied within the world of the game, and I feel like that's how you do it.
This
Yeah,
like,
there's
that's a whole different world. Like you know, with the world building, like, and the world has its own culture and such. I feel like that definitely is like how well executed instead of trying to bring real life politics into like video games.
Yeah, allegorical storytelling.
Yeah, allegorical. Yes, that is the go-to. I mean, that's stuff that RPGs have been doing for a while. That's probably why RPGs have started to become more of a mainstream thing in the West. Because people really like, oh snap, wow, these stories are pretty. Some of these stories are pretty deep. Or oh my god, this story connects with me.
Yeah, I mean that's again with Bioshock. I think both games represent the extremes of the political aisle very well. Where in the first game, it was like capitalism run completely wild without any like control whatsoever, and here in Bioshock 2, this is what happens when socialism just runs its course and how badly that can go. It shows how both sides of the aisle, like when they're pushed to their extremes, are absolutely awful, and you know the middle is what you want at the end of the day.
Yeah, the balance.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Like a lot of people these days have forgotten that when it comes to storytelling, it is really down to how you present the story, and if it's not done well, you alienate your fan base or you actively damage the world because you add things that shouldn't be possible. One of the big examples I can think of recently was the whole Dragon Age and how fundamentally the political ideology destroyed an entire franchise to the point where I heard part of the studio closed down, a lot of the developers got removed, and essentially this bad game, because this game was done so badly, resulted in what we see right now. Basically, just a complete and utter destruction of what it could have been, what it could be. I think a good example of this is how, you mentioned the whole bit where it's like, don't add in real world shit into a story if it doesn't need it, right?
Yeah, if it doesn't need it.
Right. So, in Dragon Age specifically, it's a world about magic and these sorts of things. You can turn yourself into a fucking dragon if you want, things like that, right? Yet, to appease a lot of people, like the more out there sort of folks, they add in shit that makes no sense, like this whole I think one example is that's it, top surgery scars for the player character, and all I can think is like, why would you need this in a world where again you can change your form?
Specific. You can just have the option to just change the gender. Just have the option to change the gender and stuff like. Literally, Baldur's Gate 3 handles this perfectly.
Yeah, where you can just go to a magic mirror and say, yeah, I want to be a woman now, or I want to be a man now, basically. Yeah, but here it was like it was even worse because it actively forced the player to in order to like experience the whole romance system, it locked you out of other romances. Like it wouldn't let you romance male characters or female characters. It would like give you the only straight option for both genders. And then later in the game, it would only let you like romance anyone if you got this mirror and then just basically either affirm the character's gender or did this or did that or played like it was so like just poorly done. It's like there was no reason to do this. You didn't need to like force the player into a situation that maybe they don't feel comfortable doing or they don't want to do. And it just, like I said, made it feel very, very uncomfortable. It's like, at that point, I refer to it as like putting the gun to the player's head and saying, okay, you need to make this decision now. Fuck you,
Yeah.
It's
taking control away from the player.
Yeah, it's awful. Again, it's with Bioshock 2 specifically, it gives you a lot of this because, again, this is a game that gives you choice and allows you to define who the player is, what she'll do, just all these sorts of things. Like, again, the little sister harvesting, or sparing, the interactions you can have with certain NPCs and deciding whether they can live or die. It's all, like, presented very well, and the consequences are direct to you. if you don't do something specific. And it's like, wow, this is something I really did like about this game and this concept, and I think it's kind of lost. Like you said, people are more inclined to play RPGs now because they gives you that great freedom of expression to do whatever the hell you want within the setting, and the consequences that you do are strictly, your consequences. If you, like, again, it's like saying, oh, you decide to sleep with the farmer's wife, and then suddenly, because you've done that, the farmer denies you the grain you need, and then you can't save the town from like the zombies because the grain silo is now permanently locked off to you, all because you made this choice.
Yeah, not all RPGs do that, but a handful of them do that. And yeah, one thing that I will say is, even though RPGs are more known for their stories in comparison to other genres, it's important that RPGs also make sure to handle their gameplay well. Because me personally, unless you're handling a light novel, I don't need the story to be a higher priority with gameplay. That's just a personal thing. I'm someone that puts gameplay over story. That will always put gameplay over story. Because in my eyes, there's no point spending $60 to get a game that I can enjoy the story with, like on YouTube or something, and don't have to play the game, because it's just like, because if the gameplay's not hitting, I'd rather not play it.
Right, and I think that goes the same with like anyone out there in the similar boat. Like for me, it's different. It's backwards, where the story has to be intriguing for me to actually give the gameplay a shot, because at the end of the day, you're gonna reach that epoch of like, okay, it's all the same thing, it's all the same mechanic, it's all the same button input. Like first-person shooter, third-person shooter, puzzle game, side scroller, yada yada yada. At some point, the game becomes stagnant because you're playing the same thing over and over and over again, basically. But that's where the story comes in, and you can have a really deep and interesting story, even if the gameplay is kind of like, meh. I think that's where like the beauty of it really comes from.
I can understand that. It's just, I'm the inverted of that. I just don't walk that way. For me personally, it's maybe because I grew up with platformers and such. Like, I didn't get into RPGs until my early adult years, like early 20s and such. Early 20s, on to 20s. So for me, it's like the gameplay would be much more important, because as much as the story's nice, to me it's just like, what's the point? What's the point of having this game if the gameplay doesn't match the criteria? I'm better off reading a book.
Pretty much, and I think that's one of the big things about it, is that you will, like, it is the nature of the beast. You're just going to eventually reach a point where every game is, what's it called? It just becomes the same thing over and over again, but it also, like, the story has to matter to some degree, and I think that's just mostly at its core, where you want something that isn't just a drag, or it isn't like a very divisive or repetitive kind of story and things like that. I think one of the big things would be how you just run into these sorts of problems regardless of like intent or how far it all kind of goes, if that makes any sense.
Okay. I will say though, story, gameplay, story elements integrated into gameplay is such a double-edged sword, because either it's gonna handle well or it's gonna be completely mishandled, and I've barely seen any in between moments. Because I've experienced gameplay, like story elements that have been implemented in gameplay the right way and the wrong way, and honestly, I never want to experience the wrong way ever again, because it really makes the story nonsensical. in a way. Because it's like, oh, we got to do some workarounds and such.
Yeah, I get it completely. I think like this is where it really can become like a big problem if it's not done right. Where I think like a good way of like if you're going to introduce the gameplay with the what's it called? If you're going to introduce gameplay with the story, it has to be done in such a way where like they complement each other. I think a good way would be, or a good example I can think of is Warframe, and how basically you have this whole the game has this mod system which allows the player to make their weapons and stuff stronger. And basically the developer said, oh yeah, that's canon, by the way, where these are part of the actual like this is part of the actual setting and everything like that, so don't worry too much about it. So it's like that's how you kind of like integrate this what's it called? Integrate it into such a way where it makes sense and it's like interesting and well done.
The best thing about it is that it's a small thing, and that small thing, even though like many people be like, well, I guess that's superfluous. Well, small stuff like that helps some people connect with the game more. Like it gives the world of Warframe a bit more layers to it. It makes it feel more alive.
Right, and it's always these small details and small things that help these games. Like you said, it makes it feel more alive, makes it feel more lived in. But it can also be done extremely poorly, where you can actually wind up having a game where you're playing something that's not fun because the story dictates and forces you to be in this situation where it's like, oh, you have to do this now because this, and this. And it's like, oh my god, I literally would rather play anything else than this thing right now, basically. The only thing, or like, I'm trying to think of like something like to that effect, but I can't off the top of my head. Mostly because I don't go out of my way to play crap games. You know?
I mean, yeah, that's one thing that I would never understand. People really trying so hard. It's like, oh, I really tried very hard to like this game. And in my mind, I'm just like, you say that you tried really hard to like the game. Why did you try it? It feels like you're forcing yourself to like something that you really may not be satisfied with. It would be any point. Like, even if the person is like, oh, but I'm a gamer.
Yeah, I think it's like if the idea and the premise is interesting, people want to give it a shot because like, hey, this took over. Yeah, I think I have. Go ahead.
It's just weird.
All right, Chief. We've almost got enough Adam now. To get the rest, you'll have to take care of that little system. There should be one of the air vents they favor in the workshop. Bring her down there.
Like, you actually are intrigued by it and such. Like, I just don't like the whole like, oh, I gotta pay, oh, I gotta get this because I feel like I'm obligated to. You're not putting yourself in that pedestal. Probably better off not doing that to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I was gonna say is that for me specifically, the game that like kind of comes to me, I would have to say comes to me. Let me rephrase that. The game that drew my interest, ironically enough, was what's the name of that game? Concord, and that was only because I was interested in like, oh, this could be interesting or whatever, and it just wasn't. It was a game that was trying way too fucking hard to be something in an oversaturated market, and it was just terrible. Like, I feel bad for the characters because it's like someone went out of their way to design these characters. They really wanted them to be more than just, oh, here it is, basically. And it didn't go anywhere because, the gameplay was awful. People wanted a single player adventure. They wanted a game where you could sit down with your friends and basically like have a new IP that would be interesting to go through and be like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. and instead you got a versus team hero shooter, basically.
I call that a liability, but you have enough Adam now.
Also, let me to get to the stream for like a quick second. What I love about the whole save mechanic with the little sisters is that we don't know how the fuck Delta's doing this. You know, like with the ability to make them human again. Because in the first game we saw it. Like Tenenbaum gives Jack the Adam the ability to do this, and it makes sense there. But here it's like, oh, he can just do that.
Yeah.
Just kind of funny to think about. It's like, I guess the Alpha series can do that now. Okay, whatever. I also do like how Sinclair doesn't judge you for what you do. Like it doesn't condemn you, I should say. Like he does flat out say, like, maybe you should kill the girl because you might need the Atom. But he lets it be your choice, and even if you choose not to do it, he even just kind of says in like a sort of jovial way, well, guess the Tin Man's got a heart after all. It's like, yeah, he really does. Which, again, I like.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Honestly, I have a very big soft spot for characters just interacting with each other during gameplay.
On the surface,
this is the Sonic fan coming out because I did like my first Sonic game was Sonic Wheels, and one of the big.
Why did I feel like I was going to be the case?
One of the big things that they added for that game was that characters were interacting and talking to each other while you were playing the game. I really liked that. It made the characters feel more like characters and less like, just units that you were playing as.
Right, but then you get something like Sonic Boom, and it's like they never shut the fuck up, and you sit there.
No.
I mean, I'm gonna have that in my Shadow the Hedgehog 2 thing, but I'm gonna do it better.
Less over the top.
Well, yeah, of course. I need because I'm doing things in Halo, I can actually have characters doing things that you usually don't see in fucking Sonic. So I think I'm gonna make it more Halo styled. So I'm not gonna have any rings or springs. It's gonna be more you still go fast, but it is kind of the limit.
You gradually get the speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna sit here and what's the word? Fault you for working within the limitations. Again, it's like nobody's doing Sonic in Halo. I think firmly you are the only person who's doing this, and for that it's worth congratulating on, to say the least.
It's supposed to be much darker tone too, so Also, I should say, someone did make a Sonic thing in Halo Combat Evolved back in the day, so I have to figure that out. So I can make Shadow.
It's already been done with Sonic. It's been a while. Not many people are thinking about doing a crossover with Halo and Sonic anytime soon. So
yeah. Which again is always appreciative of what's going on out there, basically. Other than that, like I said, getting back to the whole situation again, it's when characters interact like this, I think it's done well. But it shouldn't replace actual storytelling. The characters should interact instead of just being the voices the player hears. But again, that's just me. To get back to the Concord thing, though, Concord is just like I said. I didn't mind the characters. I thought they were all right. I did agree the designs were awful, but I thought with time and patience they could be something. But they never had a chance to blossom, and I feel like it's a bit of a tragedy, really, because it's like all this stuff was worked on, or they did everything to do this, but the game just was awful. It was, as Jordan puts it, AstroTurf to hell and back, and nobody wanted this fucking thing. Hell, I've even struggled to do anything with these characters only because there's so little meat to them that I can work with, basically, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I kind of... One of the few exceptions where, the characters don't really have that much of a character. One of the few times where I didn't mind it is, ironically, the game that I'm playing right now. Skylanders. Yeah, I always find a way to come back to replay these games. I did a big part of my adolescence, but I didn't mind like them not having. They did had character. That's not to say Skylanders themselves don't have character, but most of it was purposeless gameplay. Like, yeah, they have catchphrases, there's some quotes and such like that, but not really amount to that much. They're kind of like, they're kind of like Digimon. I don't really want to say Pokemon because Pokemon just say they just mainly say their name.
Hello. Also, one second. To address what Dorian's saying, yeah, I love the writing in this section with the fact that you got the Ryan animatronic just ripped to pieces, and this whole like, oh, the end of Ryan is the end of the self. It's like these people are completely indoctrinated into the bullshit that is Sophia Lamb's entire socialist bullshit. Exactly. That's basically what it is.
They're just like. Well, here they are, like, the face and Ryan, but it's like, here, it's been like 10 years and this place is in complete disarray. You have no way out of this hellhole, and you're all gonna die, so,
Well, the bitter irony is that Lamb's keeping a lot of her followers here, basically. In order for you to get out of Rapture, you have to basically use a bathysphere. But she has a system in place to detect unauthorized spheres leaving and then fire harpoons at them. She'll destroy them, basically.
Yeah. So it kind of just shows the fucking truth. Like, that's just how these types of people operate.
Basically, and Lamb's one of the worst, frankly. And again, Rapture wasn't perfect, but at least, when you were down there, you could do something, basically. But now with Lamb doing what she does, it's like, Rapture is screwed, for lack of a better term, and it shows. But again, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, it's to kind of get back to what you were saying, Loy. Yeah, no, I agree. Skylanders was basically like. They had to be non-characters because the player character was the character, if that makes sense.
The Quartermaster is a big part of Skylanders. The Quartermaster is pretty much, give it no different as like a Digimon tamer or like a Pokemon trainer. It's like, or if you want to be specific, a net nav. Battle network reference.
Yeah, basically, like that's literally what it is. And I think a lot of people were angry with Skylanders because of the whole Spiral situation, but that's never here nor there.
It wasn't really, ironically enough, the hate wasn't really on because now, granted, people do have their gripes with the design of Spyro and just the overall art style of Skylanders, which, I mean, I can understand. It's a subjective thing, and, like, I get it. It's not, the art style is not most people's cup of forte, and granted, even I, a fan of Skylanders, like, see some of the Skylanders, I'm like, yeah, they could have designed, the artists could have did them a bit better. They did my boy dirty.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the designs are pretty well and stuff. And the big issue that people had at the time wasn't the design of Spyro, or like, oh, how dare you make Skylanders? It was more so they clearly knew Activision could have easily dropped that spot.
You would drain the people of their life's blood. Rapture is a body delta.
Because people realized that after the first game, Skylanders was clearly its own.
When Rapture speaks of
like it is a very small spin-off to the Spyro series.
It can't. I don't even consider it a spin-off to the Spyro series because it's such its own thing.
Yeah, like you can blink. Like the second you get the Giants, you blink, Spyro's gone. Spyro is no longer relevant.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of this whole
I
situation.
remember Skylanders. I had all those toys and stuff. It was really fun to play the games. They had that giant thing too.
I was a crazy Skylanders collector. Like I owned all the games. And there was a point where I believe when we were at the tail end of Imaginator's like support and such, in 2015, I already was having like darn near full rosters from the games. I think I had the entire roster in some shape or form of Swap Force. Like I had all Swap Force Skylanders, meaning that I was able to do all 256 combinations.
Jesus.
Yeah. I had all Trap Masters, Trap Teams, all the Superchargers from Superchargers alongside their vehicles, including Donkey Kong and Bowser. And I had a handful of Senseis and such, including Wildstorm. That Skylander is notorious for being the same price as a car rental. And that's not a joke. Look it up. The cheapest Wildstorm nowadays is at least $300.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, again, it's like, this is what happens with physical copy media shit. It just can't. It increases with the rarity, and it is what it is. But for me, the whole Skylanders thing, I wasn't a. I mean, I followed it, but the closest I ever got into the Skylanders sort of stuff was purely in terms of. Oh, by the way, I should mention this as well. So this is another mechanic in the game. Once you rescue a lot of little sisters, the big sister will actually be sent out to attack you. So you will be challenged physically and mentally against them. I also do like how this little section, you get to do the whole like incinerate thing, and it's like just the entire display just falls apart. But you really get to see how like they're like, oh yeah, let's do this, let's do that, make this a little bit more interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was just burping.
The fucking oh shit!
I want to mention back to the story. Now, while I enjoyed it, I have a lot of issues with it. I spent my time with 3 houses, especially especially in terms of story and characters. He really did a good job with story and characters, especially characters. But the way how they integrated story with gameplay was done. You have, like, the main character has a thing. The main character has a god living in their like
big sister can
in their like body and such, right?
Come on back and melt
one of the
ice,
main things
we can
that
say
they have
goodbye to this 2-bit colony
is
ride.
reverse time, which is a gameplay mechanic. You have the option to reverse a set amount of turns, and it's limited. It's not unlimited, but it's a nice option. However, because of how the story is and how they made it, with certain moments of the story, they just won't do it.
Yeah.
It's like the main character just won't do it. Like one big, like a major character in like the second half of one path is like on the verge of death, and character, like the main character at the time, has complete control of this ability. You would think because of that, they would reverse time in some way. They don't do that. They choose not to, and they let the man die. And while yes, as a result, it led to the sub character that you're supporting with, and you choose to get their positive change art, which is great. It sacrifices the whole thing of the importance of this ability to go back in time and prevent bad things from happening.
Yeah.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Okay, so for whatever reason, my Discord kicked me out of the call. I was like, what the fuck is happening? I was just saying something.
That's
yeah, so what were you guys saying before? Alright, vanished.
I was talking how Fire Emblem Three Houses has
Outstanding sport. You're proving to be quite a windfall. Now just open the train tunnel from the security booth there, and I'll come out and
I like
jump on.
Harrison. The only thing I know about
no, but it is noticeable.
The only thing I know about Fire Emblem is that, again, and this is I've never followed the series, so I don't know much. The only thing I know about is the most recent one, and it's only that because one of the characters that the player can apparently romance just turns into a complete lunatic. I think he has an eye patch.
You and me, kid, we're going places.
Yeah, he's blue and has an eye patch.
I'm trying to think, because like I think you're referring to Engage, and like I love
the Three Houses. Three Houses. That's what I'm
Three
talking
Houses. Oh, that's the Michi. Yeah, that's the Michi. Yeah, I thought you were talking about Engage because currently that is the latest Fire Emblem.
Oh Jesus! Yeah, and I've never followed Fire Emblem. I've never been big on the series, and it's not because it's like anything the series has done to me. It's just more of a case of like I've never just played the games. Basically, it's something that never came on my radar at all, even within latest within my context of Three Houses. I just because I think it was a third of a running series basically, and I was like, why the fuck would I get into this when I haven't even looked into what's happening with Fire Emblem's other prey characters? And I said, oh, I'll probably get to that at another time. Never did. But again, that's just purely the situation and the nature of the beast. Basically, it's just basically what it is. I just never got into these games because it was something that just never happened. Also, by the way, I do like how this game continues its tradition of keeping its NPCs away from the player. So you still have this you really can't trust the characters per se, which is a good way of kind of keeping. Yeah, it's a good way of basically having the player interact with the NPCs, but always having the NPCs just out of reach of the player for interaction purposes. Again, it's a good way to kind of build a slight distrust, but it's also a good way to kind of show who they are and what they are and everything of that nature. I also like the fact that Sinclair is a pretty normal person. He's not a splicer, he's not crazy. And it really does go to show that he is a completely kind of different guy when you think about it, in a good way.
Yeah, and that's good. Honestly, it's kind of ironic that that's now starting to become less of a thing, and when we do see it, it's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, basically, it's.
Because that was kind of that was really the point. These snarky, smug guys just talking about stuff, and it's just you just got this guy just kind of reserved and such.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, I
especially in a mature game like that's.
Mm-hmm. That's saying something, and again, I want to call it as it is.
It's fucking Kingpin!
Attention. Subject Delta is now trapped.
Oh wait, no, it's Wings of Redemption.
All railcar travel is
yes, it is.
until he is found.
The fat fuck.
Remember, the enemy is alone. We
I will say, I said I appreciated it to you, and I wanted to say something because Fire Emblem
Lab's trying to
already
box
has
us
a
in, kid.
stigma.
This is a
For some
goddamn
reason in the
citywide
internet,
lockdown. To keep the
A
train
lot of people
moving,
say that
you
it's
need the
Smash Bros,
security
but I feel
override
like
key from the
it's
local
ended up
governor,
becoming much
Grace
more than
Holloway.
that, and it's
She
kinda
kicked me
weird.
out of my
And
own
honestly,
hotel
it just
down
feels
here,
weird.
the Sinclair
People who
Deluxe.
react to this
Find
with
her
Fire
and
Emblem,
get
yet
that key.
they're probably the same people that have no problem like getting into stuff like Genshin Impact or Star Wars, and like any of the Hoyoverse games, or like a different like anime-esque like game. It doesn't even have to be an RPG or something. And it's just like, just say that you just don't care about. It's fine. You don't gotta straight up say that you hate the thing. I may not know much about Finn or Elder Scrolls and such, but am I gonna say that like, oh, I can't stand Elder Scrolls. I can't stand every time I had to listen to I took an arrow to the knee so many times when I was a teenager and was woke up. Like, I'm not doing that. Also, I like those memes. Those memes anyway.
Well, the bitter irony
just because also, but like, just because I don't or don't have any interest, doesn't mean I have to automatically hate it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a similar... Well, ironically, to mention this is that I once got involved with... one of the big things is that I've avoided doing anything with... what's it called? JoJo, simply because of the Warframe community, but that is a whole different thing. I'm not going to get into that right now. Point is, not a big problem, and for me, it's just what it is. It's just the nature of the beast, and that's really where I'm going to leave it at. But yeah, it is what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if this is petty or not, but when I've dealt with people who've treated me like shit, when I remember just the shit that they like, that I have trouble wanting to even get into it. Like fucking JoJo, like fucking Mara liked that shit, and she was really abusive to me. You remember, she treated me like shit. I shouldn't say abusive, but she's a bad friend. Or fucking CSGO with my fucking ex, but it's like, I don't want to get into it because, oh, hi Broken Circle, he's in the chat. And because of that, I don't want to get into the, franchise, because it reminds me of them, because they'd always tell me about it,
That's very unfortunate, because, you shouldn't have to feel like you are forced to get into something. In some way, you gotta have some interest.
Yeah.
With the thing that you're want to get into. Even though I'll say that I got peer pressured into getting into Pokemon, it's always been at least a part of me that want to get into Pokemon. Also, at least my friends aren't those kind of people, dude. We just playfully tease each other and kind of just call it a day. We just chill.
Yeah. For the most part, for me, when it comes to the whole JoJo situation, it's just purely the memes. Okay, so to kind of give it a bit more context, Warframe introduced a frame that could control and pause time within bubbles and things like that. It was limbo, basically. And before some alterations were made, this could also affect the player's projectiles and everything. It basically made it that if you had a limbo on your team, they could essentially make it so you could never do anything, basically. They could put you in the rift and stop your bullets and shit like that, basically making you something else. And I had to deal with, frequently, people just literally turning their limbos into Dio, doing the memes and everything. And it got on my nerves so badly that I just completely swore off the JoJo series completely. And said, fuck it, I don't care if I'm missing out on something. This was such a bad experience that I've chosen to completely and utterly just disregard it completely.
Yeah.
While I don't normally do that, it is unfortunate that stuff like that can and will happen. Where it's just you just experience something, and it don't even have to be from the show itself. It could just be people who were either fans of the show or referencing the show, and it's just well, this is now this is now, I don't want to get into this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of it. It's unfortunate. Oh, my friend, she said that she was afraid to get in the cookie run because she saw some messed up stuff. I was like, no!
Broken Circle says Bioshock is a great franchise. Honestly, I think 2 is more refined than 1. Infinite is cool too, but I gotta go to bed and got some stuff to do first thing into AM. Have a good night, guys. Okay, good night, Broken. It was good to hear from you.
And have a good one.
Yeah, he makes videos on YouTube too. He's a fellow YouTuber. We're friends.
Yeah. That's nice. Also, to kind of give a little context to this area, so in this area, there is a bit of a boss that runs this place, and I say boss not like a boss fight, but a boss who runs the area, basically. It's Grace Holloway, and her history is kind of on the tragic side. Basically, survivor of the Great Depression, mostly in Harlem and things like that, has dealt with awful things throughout her entire history, you know, racism, segregation, all that sort of shit. Came down to Rapture with her husband, tried to make a better life. Then when the attack happened, everything got taken out of the banks crashed, and she just got angry and fed up with it all. Her husband basically got taken away from her and probably killed, and Grace basically got lured in by fucking what's her name, by Dr. Lamb, because she's like, oh, you're broken, you're hurt, blah 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 blah, let me help you. And now Grace is her willing pawn to a certain degree, but she also has a personal grudge against you. And I'm not going to say more to that. I'm going to let you figure that one out on your own. But yeah. Excuse me. I'm just kind of getting back to something here. Regrets. But yeah, no. For me, it's like I said. It's like people can make something awful for other people to enjoy, but I always think that before you swear off of something, you should at the very least try to, like, you know, get acclimatized to it, or, you know, at the very least try it once before you swear it off completely. And I did with JoJo, frankly. I tried to watch the show and everything like that, and it wasn't just my cup of tea either. It's just something that I just saw and was like, okay, so they're muscly people, and they have basically ghosts that fight for them. Okay, that's interesting. But that was it. That was the extent of my exposure, and then I just said, fuck it. I'm gonna move on with my life and focus on other things.
No,
basically.
She's
and again,
healing him.
What, the little sister healing the big daddy?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, that was introduced for this game specifically because it was, if you don't get to them fast enough and start doing damage again, they're just going to start healing them. But yeah, but that's as far as I think I would go in terms of this. I'm not really a big, you know, that's just my take, you know, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Yeah. Let me see here. Sorry, I thought I was going to say something else, but it's completely slipped my mind now. Okay. Let me think. Okay, yeah. But that's as far as I'm going to put it with that. But no, I just think if you're going to swear off something, at least give it a try. And, you know, that's as far as I would probably say. You know, because why not? Like, you know, if you swear off something, you know, you, what's it called? If you swear off something and you never get a try, you know, you're hurting yourself more than you're hurting other people, you know? Like, especially if you do a review on something you've never seen before, and then you've got, like, egg on your face, and you're sitting there like, Jesus Christ, what could I, you know, like, people hate you for that. And for good reason, too, I might add. And that's putting it out there. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to really say. Law, you got anything else you want to probably mention, bring up, anything like that? Okay. I guess I'll just kind of keep going and think of another topic. Yeah, they beefed up the Big Daddies in this one.
Oh, I think I may have some.
Okay, go.
This is just a me thing. A big me thing. I can now. I'm gonna be real.
Okay.
My thoughts with the Switch 2.
Okay.
The console itself, price for the console itself is perfectly fine. $450 for a console that has 256 gigabytes off the bat of memory off the bat, on top of running up to 120 frames, not 60, 120 frames. And it has a lot, and it already supports a lot of first-party Nintendo games off rip that you can play. I'm someone who bought their Switch back during its first year. I bought it at September 2017. I did not buy a new Switch at all because part of me knew that a Switch successor was going to happen. I was like, you know what? I'm better off waiting for that successor to come out. I was worried that it was going to be overpriced given how they showcased everything else, because that's the big part. That's the real problem I have. But thankfully, at the very least, the console itself is a reasonable price.
Right.
It's still cheaper than the recommended Steam Deck, which that's no fault on Steam Deck. Steam Deck also has its own share of perks. It's just unfortunate that my hype for getting one died down because unfortunately, the games, a handful of games that are in my library,
there are fixes for that. There is a community tab for a lot of games that actually lets you download what's it called, community alterations, controls, things like that. So there are like workarounds. Yeah, I mean I did that a lot myself.
But at the end of the day, I am someone. It feels like now I'm still Nintendo and such. But like, just because I like the price of the console ain't that bad. The console price ain't that bad. It's everything.
It's everything else. So let's actually break that down. So it's what was it? It was $80 for the digital game, $90 for a physical version, which is just a plastic case.
Yeah, the max. The max potential of it is $90.
Let me see. The paid tech demo, even though Astrobot exists, group chat, which is like, why the fuck would I use this when Discord exists? And
I'm gonna be honest. Sorry to interrupt. I will be honest. The group chat only has one beneficial thing. If you want to know what that is, you can be able to screen share your Switch games, no problem with your friends. Because I'm gonna be honest, I've wanted to screen share gameplay from my Switch for a hot minute, but you need specific stuff and specific capture cards in order to do that. So I can at least appreciate that being a thing. But that's like one good thing out of the 50 that makes you go, huh?
Yeah, which ironically, I had an opportunity to experience a group chat thing from like a what's it called, a tester who was like a friend working on it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's 5 frames per century, by the way, so keep that in mind. It's bad. Also, before we continue, the enemy you're currently encountering, Jordan, is known as a brute splicer. So these are splicers who have taken a cocktail mix of what's it called, sports boost plasmids, growth hormones, things like that. Basically taking the raw materials of used plasmids and becoming these gigantic, basically hulking brutes. They're more difficult to kill, they'll throw things at you, They have a higher health pool than most splicers. They're like mini bosses to a degree, but they also become regular enemies as the game progresses. So it's the typical it's the typical what's it called?
It's a tank from Left 4 Dead.
Basically, yeah, a tank with Halo 2 brute berserker capabilities, basically.
Yes.
But yeah, these guys are proper bastards, and ironically, the other big thing as well is that they will actively try to heal too mid-fight. So keep that in mind. Anyway, yeah. So the group chat thing, that's like once per century. Another big thing about the stuff with the Switch 2, like, it's the camera that I think is a terrible thing, and I heard jokes that what's it called? I heard jokes here and there that's like, actually, it was specifically from Skeletor doing like a product advertisement right at the end of the video. He says, when all the issues with the Switch 2 is happening, he says, "What do you mean the camera has a hard time picking up Melody?"
Yeah,
I broke up.
Not okay. That is not okay at all. I have metalin in my skin.
Oh god, it's one of those things where it's like you sit there and go like, this was not tested properly, wasn't it? It was just
not
gonna
tested properly. And at the same time, this is the same company that was making some weird Bluetooth Splatoon headset. Just to be like, here you go, now you can voice chat while playing Splatoon 2. And it's just like, bro, we all using Discord.
Yes,
The
exactly.
only reason to buy this Bluetooth Splatoon headset is for the sake of the fact that we finally got at least some actual headwear merch from Splatoon. Wow. Meanwhile, it was something that already existed in Japan like a year ago.
Yeah, Japan always gets in this shit, but hey, who's counting?
I will say this best out of modern. Ever since the Switch become a thing, became popular, especially during the Reddit double 20 year.
Yeah, the lockdown.
Nintendo does not like the US. They don't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Hold on, before we continue, I need to mention this to Jordan. Did you go into the diner in the other area? The one with like the lockdown diner?
Get in there.
There's a hole in the roof. If you fall into it, you'll go into the diner itself, and you will get a double-barrel shotgun as another weapon. But you can completely miss this if you don't go back. But yeah. No, I get it, and it's like, I don't blame them for not liking the US. Nobody likes the US these days, but that's a side point.
Oh, this isn't just because, like, recent stuff. Like, I'm talking, again, all the way back during the lockdown. Because Nintendo really was trying to do a lot of good stuff for the US and a lot of their like, communities and such, like Smash and Splatoon. Guess what? Both of those communities ruined those partnerships.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. And that's what I mean. It's just now Nintendo's just trying to catch up with everything else. And ironically, the tariffs in place have completely stopped the pre-orders for the Switch 2 because it's like, oh shit, we're gonna lose so much fucking money now instead of getting it. And there, as far as I can hear, there's like talks about having like because of the outcry is so intense. There's talks that the fan base will actually Nintendo will actually listen to the fans and start, undoing a lot of these stupid choices. But who knows? I don't know how this.
Who knows?
They're trying to push for like $100 games right now too. Like I heard they're trying like GTA. Like Take-Two wants GTA 6 to be like $120. It's like you're just gonna cause another crash, and the industry kind of needs it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because again,
I'm gonna be honest. If the crash happens, the only thing that's really gonna get affected is the AAA. Companies.
Like indies like me.
Most indies and even some third parties won't even be affected by it. Hell, you could even say some AAA companies won't be affected by it either. because ironically enough, some of these AAA companies that don't be screwing consumers over actually be handling their finances pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. It is purely going to be like if a crash, does occur, it's going to affect the most out there and greedy business companies as it is. They're going to ruin everything that they've done. They're going to actively cause problems with everything they've been creating, and eventually it's just going to become this massive like headache. Like we already know for a fact that, and I've mentioned this like 100 times on the fucking streams, but I'll say it again because it's fucking funny. What's it called? Oh Jesus Christ, what's the word? The situation with Ubisoft and the Assassin's Creed Shadows has gone terribly wrong. They have even come out and said that the game didn't sell as well as they had hoped, even though some outlets are claiming, "Oh, it did great! It did great!" It's like,
coming. And then they of course say lie and Asher, "Oh, it did so well."
Again, Yasuke Simulator is kicking its ass, and that is a shit post. That's saying. Also, by the way, Lloyd, did you know that did you know that Ubisoft indirectly called a generation of people their great ancestors was a whore, basically? Okay, so quick, and I mentioned this on the stream before, so anyone who's heard this is just ignore me at this point. But in Japan's history, there used to be this individual who tried to unite everything, Nobunaga, right? And he was one of the more successful warlords that basically almost got everything sorted to a certain degree. And he used to have, and he had a wife who was very loyal to him, and she really did adore him. The Nobunaga bloodline still lives to this day with a few living descendants still active. And in the game, Yasuke... Why do I keep wanting to say Yosuke? Why am I saying that? Whatever is... The Black Samurai, basically, can get it on with, essentially, I think it's Nobunaga's, wife, or I don't know. It's someone from that family. And so indirectly, Ubisoft is calling the living descendants, or saying to the living descendants, your grandmother was a whore.
That's disrespectful.
Yes, Japan is a very
I'm pretty sure the Prime Minister of Japan
and that's putting it very light.
Oh yeah, Japan's Prime Minister absolutely hates Ubisoft and has called the game like an insult to their culture. It's like, yeah, no, fuck them.
Yeah, screw them, because they acting like, because Ubisoft and companies like them be acting like, oh, this is what you guys want. It's like, we asked for this.
And it all started because they wanted to make Yasuke a samurai, and there's been debates, historical debates by Japanese scholars and historians about whether or not he was actually a samurai. Because again, there was a black swordsman in Japan during the feudal era, a little after as well. But it's been unclear whether or not he was considered a samurai or if he was just considered a ronin. And there's a huge difference between those two things. But the fact that Ubisoft just put their fucking foot in their mouth and said, oh, he was a samurai, fuck you, and did all this stupid shit, resulted in everything just going completely and utterly batshit crazy. Again,
because given how people take on media, some people treat that as, oh, this is historically accurate. No!
They tried the same thing with Battlefield Vagina. They tried to say, oh, this is historically accurate. These fucking women with robot arms walking into battle. And it's like, you have actual stories of women in combat and you choose to ignore them to make up your fucking fake OC self-inserts.
Yes, again, in World War I alone, there were so many impressive individuals who heard the call of duty and stepped up. Let me ask you a quick question. Have either of you heard of The Lady in the Dark?
No.
Okay, so to kind of give a little bit of historic, like this is again Rev History 101 here. Basically, during the First World War One, many of the countries were basically recruiting from what's it called? What's it called? Many kind of like people were basically getting what's the word I'm looking for here? Recruiting and getting things, so on and so forth. Recruitment was high. The Lady of the Dark herself was a woman. She was a Serbian individual. She was from Serbia, and her family got the draft letter. And the problem was that her brother was an artist. He was a painter. He wasn't a soldier, and she was scared that she would lose her brother. So she switched places with him. She purposely cut her hair short. She already had a sort of mannish appearance to her, so she took advantage of that and took his place in the regiment. And she fought smart, she fought fair, she knew how to avoid major conflicts without getting hurt, and she was respected by her unit. And they flat out adored, who she was, what her capabilities were, until she got injured. This injury caused her to be admitted into the tent, and when they removed the band, her clothing and everything to get to the wound, they found out, oh, this is a woman. And basically, she was going to be court-martialed for what happened. She spoke with her commanding officer, and she specifically asked what they would do with her. And he just said, we'll decide this in the morning. He had to think on this because she was adored by her regiment and many others. And she said, then I'll just wait here, sir. And she spent about an hour, maybe, no, I think it was closer to 4 hours just standing in one spot. And he eventually said, return to your barracks. You're not leaving this army. He was that impressed with her resilience, basically. Since then, her story's been sadly buried over time, simply because, it's not as popular. She survived. She lived to a ripe old age of basically 60 years old, and was one of the most decorated women in history.
That is so cool.
Yeah, she was essentially the modern-day Mulan of the time.
Where was this in history class?
They don't teach you the right shit in history class. They ignore a lot of shit.
They really don't.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I think.
You know what the worst part about this shit too is when they fucking make the shit like Battlefield Vagina or Yasuke and shit. It devalues actual history because by making the past more progressive, you deny the fact that there were actual racism or sexism going on back in the day. Because if you're saying because they literally had black women in the German army in fucking Call of Duty World War II in fucking Battlefield Vagina. Do you guys okay, you're oh, the Nazis are so bad because of how, because they fucking did the Holocaust. Well, let's put the fucking black women in the army, even though they probably wouldn't have let that happen.
They wouldn't.
Exactly. It's you're completely devaluing the history just for the sake of it's fucking rewriting history. And when you rewrite history and you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it, which is exactly what these fuckers want.
Yeah, it's kind of sickening.
Oh, absolutely.
I feel like what's worse is just most people's perception when it comes to this stuff. It's oh, well, it's media. It's just fiction and stuff like that. I'm yeah, but it's based off. You're doing stuff. You're using stuff that are based off of real life events.
And the problem
is that you have to tread carefully.
Yeah, and the problem is they're claiming it's real history. When fucking the whole Battlefield 5 thing happened, they were oh, this is real history, how dare you complain about it? That's the problem. Same with fucking Assassin's Creed Shadow. At first they were saying it was real history. And they were trying to change Wikipedia articles until it was yeah, this is bullshit.
That's insane. You mean to tell me that falling... You mean to tell me falling... I could just go all the way up to space, near up to space, away from the ozone layer, just skydive down
land in the hay pile and be fine.
Yeah, land in the hay pile and be fine. No! No! That's not how gravity works.
Yeah.
Exactly. Again, this is the situation of gameplay and story not matching up. Also, I want to mention this as well when it comes to the lady, and I should mention, by the way, her name is Milunka Savic. That's MilunkaSavic.
Honestly, the Lady of mentioning Lady of the Dark audio makes me for the story. That really helps.
Yeah, again, a soldier with no will to kill, but with a philanthropic heart.
I just love the fact that it's called Lady of the Dark because her story is not known, so it's just left in the dark.
Wasn't there also that?
I'm glad.
Oh, sorry. You can go on.
I'm very glad that I did got to know like this story because it makes me very happy. Like again, that's history that is interesting. That's history. That's like the history that people legitimately want to know.
Yeah. Like again, it shows. Yeah, because again, it shows you like, hey, she put herself out there. She took the risk. She could have died, and she didn't. She said, "Fuck it, I'm going to protect my brother and prove that I'm a capable individual," and she succeeded. In fact, one of my favorite little stories she used to tell a lot was at the end of World War One, and basically into the post-peace years, things like that nature. She would get invited to a British officers' party to basically celebrate their accomplishments, like a very, very posh thing. And she would always come in with a proper dress and everything like that, and a jacket, basically. And one of the officers of the British military would approached her once and said, was she like the wife of an officer in this party? She would smile, take off her jacket, and show the medals on her chest that basically reach from one end to the other. And the officer was just absolutely stunned and apologized to her profusely for the disrespect he did to her. And she just said, "It's fine. It happens more often than you would think."
Humbleness that she had. True elegant.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I also believe that she was friends with Sir Adrian de Werk at some point, the unkillable soldier. I imagine those two used to be friends. But unfortunately, these stories aren't popular enough. They don't resonate with people. No. It's like, that would make a fucking killing.
Yeah, it would. But I would say even if they're quote unquote popular or what the masses didn't know, I'm grateful that you shared it. Because I know it's not left in the dark for me. Maybe for everybody else, but for me.
And they say that it wouldn't.
Yeah.
They say it wouldn't resonate with people, but really, they don't care to actually learn the history. They would just rather make up their old bullshit OCs.
Yeah, because people want people. Because a lot of people, I mean a lot of people like playing God.
No, absolutely.
Kind of scary. It's kind of scary in my perspective because it's just like.
Well, again, it's the power fantasy. It's like the power that it comes with and the ability to create and all that sort of stuff. Like, it is pure unchecked ego, and it just tends to show you the nature of these people and what they really are like. And frankly, I'm just to me, it's I'm just glad people are just waking up to this bullshit. They're realizing that none of this should be accepted and just moving on with their lives.
Yeah, I think noticed that they were trying to do this shit with the Oblivion thing, and it's they've lost the argument on it. It is fucking crazy. It's things are shifting to a positive light. The nature is healing. Things are getting better.
People,
I'm a bloomer.
I'm happy. Just one of those things where people be thinking humans are the worst and stuff like that. It's no. I feel like We as a species
It
have
was a
already been
miracle in
ourselves too
Technicolor,
hard.
kid.
Have already been
Works
putting
like a
ourselves
movie
too hard
camera.
just because
Start
of
the
mistakes
film
that
rolling
other
before you
humans
open
have made.
fire on a
I
splicer,
feel like
and then anything
we really
you
need
hit
to
him
take
with
time
tells you
to
more about
appreciate
his DNA. Let's give
the
it a
good
try
side of
run,
humanity.
shall we?
Which the good side of humanity is the reason why we're not extinct.
Ironically,
Easy now.
no. You want to know why we're not starving right now? Ironically enough, it was thanks to a German scientist who said, "I'm going to pee on vegetables, and somehow that's going to help." Now that's an over-exaggeration, by the way, but it is close. Basically, what is it called? He was known as the father of toxic gas. Basically, he invented mustard gas, and what was it called?
You'll be able to brush aside that
I think it was Harbor. No, yes, oh God, what was his name? His name was Fritz Harbor. That was it. Basically, infamous for saying the quote or for saying quote during times of peace I belong to the world. During times of war I belong to my nation of birth. Basically, he was responsible for re-enriching soil that was depleted by over-farming by introducing an ammonia-based chemical which reinvigorated the soil and basically allowed us to plant more food over time, essentially solving the world hunger crisis during his era. He would also wind up creating mustard gas, and his original intent for it was supposed to be a scare weapon. Like, this is something that could turn the air around you toxic and essentially like kill you without much problem. And his hope was that would scare the soldiers into submission, but they didn't because their desire to see their nation safe was so great. But and unfortunately, he just kind of kept going at it. At that point, he just gave up trying to be a humanitarian. He just said, "Fuck it, let's keep going." He would create different kinds of mustard gas that could actually like eat through the filtration systems. Just all this crazy shit, basically. But that was the point, because they were getting better equipment to counter his processes, so he had to keep finding ways to overcome it, basically. And that was the biggest problem of the First World War, basically. His intent was that this would end the war quickly, and they just kind of prolonged it to an extreme degree. And even it gets even worse for the poor. Like, this is where it gets funny for the poor guy. So World War I ends, right, and he returns to like science and things like that. He's a scientist, and he was he cares and everything, right? And then Hitler came to power, and here's the unfortunate thing, because poor Fritz here, he was Jewish, so.
My gosh.
Yes. But the thing is that Hitler wanted to use him because he found his use of chemical weapons interesting. But he also hated him because he was Jewish, and even on record said, quote, "What are we going to do about the Harbor Jew?" And it's like, Jesus Christ. So
you're just gonna use this man to do some of the most malicious stuff in history while discriminating.
Yes, it gets. But here's where it gets funny. So Fritz leaves his country of birth, goes to I think Switzerland, and just dies in the Swiss countryside. Like, he was safe from what the Nazis were doing, but in his last days he even admits that he was so depressed because he wouldn't be able to ever see his homeland again. Ironic, because when you think about it, that same dedication to his nation led him to do such horrible fucking things to his fellow man, and yet his nation turned on him and forced him out to essentially live the rest of his days as an exile. That is sad. Legitimately sad.
Yeah.
It's just, God. Again, history is a funny little thing when you think about it, and I mean,
is beyond messed up. Like I would say our human history is more messed up than most animals, like natural instincts just to survive. We be doing this based off of morality and what's right and what's wrong and ideals. Like other animals be looking at us like, oh, what are y'all on?
Exactly. It's like, I think one of my favorite jokes is that to the animals we are known as the ape of the hamburger.
Like we talking about our dog, like, oh, why our dogs be be trying to sniff, like you like trying to get like crazy zoomies and stuff. Meanwhile, I guarantee you, most dogs be looking at us like weird, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why must you do the things you do? It's like, what is wrong with you? And I don't disagree. Again, that's what history is, and that's what it shows us. I mean, ironically, Harbor's actions also gave us one of the most badass Russian units ever, the Dead Men. Which, if you didn't know about that, it's kind of tragic. Basically, what's the word? So it was during the First World War, and what it was is that it was the German army was currently trying to deal with the Russian nation at the time, and the officer basically wanted a quick victory. To an extent, he was getting tired of losing so many men to the Russians, so he ordered them to just take out the hoses full of like the chemicals and just spray it over the battlefield. It succeeded to a degree. Basically, it took out a large portion of the soldiers, and they just started to march over that dead land without nothing. And then the Russians started to get back up and started attacking. I'm not joking when I say it was the living dead. Basically, the chemicals had eaten away at their bodies, they were dying, but in pure defiance, they said, no, if we're going to die, we're going to choke the life out of you. And drove the Germans out while essentially dying and falling to pieces. Ironically enough, one of the German soldiers described it as, or said roughly translated, said, fear the dead men, for the dead men have no mercy.
They have no mercy and nothing. Not just no mercy, they have nothing else to do. They know their time is finite.
Oh, absolutely. It was immortalized in several paintings and portraits, where you would see these Russian soldiers and officers wearing rags over their heads, covered, like, caked in blood from where they were coughing, and just staggering up to their feet, firing rifles, shooting guns, like, just basically leading a final charge. And we're talking about, like, less than a couple hundred guys at that point, versus, like, double the size when it comes to the Germans at the time. And that's saying something. Like, do not underestimate the power of fear. But again, when people tell you, oh, zombies in World War I isn't realistic, again, point to the dead men and tell them, I challenge you to tell me those weren't zombies. Oh, God. Again, we play games here, we do all this crazy shit, and yet the irony of it all is that history is far stranger and far more out there than anything we've ever played. Like, we're playing a game right now about an underwater city with, like, drug addicts. I'm sure if we look hard enough, we're gonna find the same fucking thing somewhere. I guarantee you.
I'm terrified. I'm not. I'm not scared. Like, I don't want. What do you mean? What do you mean? This whole time I was right about our consciousness being the descendant to the stars. No! I don't want to be right! Prove me wrong!
Exactly, it's like, that's the worst feeling. It's like knowing you were right and being horrified that you were right the entire time. It's like, oh no! Oh no!
When it comes to that stuff, I'm not proud to be correct. Like, no!
Exactly. Oh god, it kind of reminds me of this joke somebody said. I think it was in terms of Rooster Teeth when they were talking about one of their friends, like Joel, mentioning how I swear to God he's waiting for something terrible to happen so he can be in all our faces and saying, "Ah, I was right. I predicted this," etc., etc. And then Bernie says, like, you know what? Now it's my life's purpose to be there when that happens, and right before the meteor hits us that wipes us all out, just lean into the side and say, I don't remember you saying that. Just as it hits us. It's like, you dick! Oh, God. Also, speaking of Rooster Teeth, I don't know you guys heard, but they're coming back.
Oh no. But they'd understand what actually makes good fucking entertainment.
No, they're
failing to make anything.
Viz Media. I'm trying to remember what Viz Media does.
They're most likely anime distributors. Not just anime, but also manga as well. I don't even think they just stopped at anime and manga. I think they just do like.
Oh, Brian, I remember these guys.
General. But I feel like Rooster Teeth's gonna do fine. They already got rid of most of the bad apples in the company anyway.
Well, again, it's like this is to me how I view it is like this is a second chance. You know, don't waste it by
Please don't mess it up.
I mean, for me, I gave up on Rooster Teeth. Like when the allegations and the drama and all this shit happened, I realized like
they could have made Red vs. Blue using Halo MCC mods. They didn't even care. My friend Darksteel made a whole recreation of the Tex fight in fucking Halo 3. They didn't give a shit. They didn't say anything about it, so I don't like them.
True. They just said fuck you essentially.
Yeah.
Fucking pricks, but hey, whatever. At least the community appreciates his efforts and adore him for it. So hey, it's better than being recognized by the original guys.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Like, as long as you have that good, as long as he has that good thing, like, audience, that's what matters.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Also, sorry, I'm taking a look at this. Yeah, and again, that's what I mean. It's just this is what I'm just saying. I think personally, for me, when it comes to Rooster Teeth, I dipped a while back. I've never watched anything to do with Ruby, and that's nothing to say that like I hate Ruby or I dislike it or I don't have any interest in it or anything of that nature. It's more just a case of I never got around to it, and I never had a reason to get into it. You know, get into it basically. It's just complete and utter happenstance, and there's not much else to it beyond that. But even then, I felt this like unease, like call it fan sense intuition. But I noticed that a lot of the fandom was not happy with the direction Rooster Teeth was going, and when I looked into a lot of it, my immediate thought was like, this doesn't feel like anything that it should be. Like to put it into perspective, it's like, how do I put it? I have no strong feelings towards Ruby whatsoever, but I knew the creator. You know, I knew. Hold on, let me rephrase that before people start assuming I knew the man. I knew him as in I knew his work and I knew who he was. Right? Let me be clear about that. But the big thing I knew about the guy was that he was big on anime, didn't like superhero stuff, was kind of like what it is, basically. And all I could think of when I see Rooster Teeth, or like Red vs. Blue now, is this feels raw. Like, it's far from what... it's far from what it should have been, basically. And I don't feel like I'm incorrect about that, which is weird.
I think what didn't help is just the fact that they kept on going with their projects despite the fact that they had all that crazy stuff happen. I feel like that is the big culprit. Like, if they just actually handled their stuff accordingly within their company, we could have had much better results with certain things. And while I am someone that, to be honest, kind of only there for Ruby, not really anything else. I'm not a oh my gosh a Ruby stan, but like I'm more of the casual fan side. Like I just enjoy Ruby for what it is, or what like it made it out to be. Like, so. But they really should have handled a lot of their issues because of that they made a lot of decisions that weren't smart. Like a lot, like something we're seeing now with like Viz, like with like Rooster Teeth and how they're handling Viz Media. It is like they got like a hawk looking at them. Like they got to step up now. And I'm at least glad that they're very least doing exactly that. Like, it was so great. It was like Ruby fans were absolutely shocked that Rooster Teeth took time to delay like the more recent volumes, like Volume 9 and 8. Well, especially Volume 9, because so that way they made sure like that volume was pretty good. And a lot of people, a lot of Ruby fans enjoy Volume 9. It was very
hold on, because we can. 1 second. Sorry, Jordan. Did you manage to pick up the shotgun?
Shotgun?
Yes.
Where?
Okay, it's in that diner that has the doors closed in the fishbowl. If you go through the roof and head towards the kitchen, you can pick up a double barrel. So it's the one that you're currently by. So the brute just went up the roof. So if you go through the hole in the roof, you can actually get to the what's it called? You can get into the kitchen and get the shotgun.
Where the hell is
it's on the ground
again?
I think it's towards the back area here. Hold on. Was it a hole in the roof, or is it like a back door you can open? Hold on, let me take a look. Oh god. No, I think I'm mistaken. I think there's a back door you can slip in through. So if you go to like the back of the diner, there should be like a door you can hack. Because I might be thinking of the other diner with the actual hole in the roof. Yeah. There's a door in the back that you can jerry-rig to open, and then go through the kitchen and then pick up the shotgun inside. That's why you're getting so many shotgun ammo things, basically.
Fine. I don't. Oh, there it is. Oh, I don't even get to attach it to me. I just hold it. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So if you go to a Power to the People station later, obviously, because I think you already used the one in this level, you can actually attach a extended magazine mod, which actually allows you to put extra chambers on it. So it becomes a 6-shooter shotgun instead of a 2-barrel shotgun.
Holy shit! I gotta see that.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, back to what we were saying. So yeah, the whole situation with Ruby and everything like that. Like I said, as they say, I have no horse in this race. And again, it's just because I feel, and this has been my personal opinion for years now, I feel like the series should have stopped after Monty died, and it's like just ended on a good note, and let Ruby be,
Just rev up that drill of yours and slam right through that pile of junk blocking your way.
Because unfortunately, during this past volume 3 did not end it on a good note. It ended with a lot of unanswered questions. Not to mention that the series at that time was going through a very dark turn.
Get on up there and persuade her to give you that
it was getting very dark. Like literally, one of the most popular characters got killed off. One of the main characters got their arm sliced.
Yeah, I'm aware. But that's what I mean. It's like if you have to do the series and give it like a positive ending, then just do that. Do one more, volume or whatever, tie up all the loose ends, and just call it a day. But
ironically enough,
Mhm.
ironically enough, that's what they did for Volume 9. Because Volume 9, because prior to this media, obviously obtaining, Rooster Teeth and stuff like that, Volume 9, the people who were working on that, they were just like, yeah, if this is it, this is it. This is the last, this is the final volume, if it really is it. And they really did tie everything up in a nice bow. And it all culminating with Ruby finally finding her self again after everything, after just the mental, physical, and emotional destruction she had to deal with. It was in a nice, it was a nicely wrapped bow.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. It's like, but the fact that we've had to get to 9 volumes just kind of says everything. Like I said, I would have.
Yeah, true.
I would have just said, we'll do one more volume, end it on a good note, and just leave it there, and just honor the man's wishes. That's it. But I feel like by dragging it, well, you know what I mean. Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like if he didn't leave anything behind, end the series, and honor what he created, and just leave it like that. But again, the fact that they've dragged it out basically drove a lot of his characters through what many consider the mud or unnecessary shit. It's like, whatever. I don't have any horse in this. I just feel like that's how I would have approached it myself, personally speaking. But again, I'm not in charge of Rooster Teeth. If I was, God knows there would be so much different going on.
Yeah, there would be probably a lot different. But
Yes.
yeah, it also doesn't. Also, again, the series wasn't intended to end at Volume 3. They clearly had a lot more stuff going on and such, which is what obviously the big issue is the fact that the creator's no longer there, so you don't really have a clear idea of how the story was going to move forward, and that was the issue. It's the fact that they kept on going. They didn't really give themselves a break.
Yeah, and I understand completely.
How they really wanted to project the story, even if they had at least some coordinates on how the story should progress.
Right.
And I think
I'll throw this as and I'll throw this as well, just for my own sake. It's like if I was running Rooster Teeth, I would flat out say the following: it's like this. It's not a democracy. This is a dictatorship because I rule it with an iron dick. Yeah, but that's it's how I run my house as well. But that's a side point. Anyway, point is, I think Rooster Teeth has had an issue with a lot of its series. I did follow Red versus Blue for a lot, and I felt like Zero was by far their worst attempt to just try and get everything fixed. It was very clearly Red versus Blue being controlled by a completely different team. New characters that made no sense. The story was completely out the window. All this shit, and then this whole we've done this movie. Just honestly, to me, felt insulting. It felt like they knew the noose was closing around their necks. They knew that they were going to get destroyed by Warner Brothers, so they just wanted to make sure that Red versus Blue couldn't continue without Rooster Teeth, and so they ended in such a rather abrupt way. And I feel like that's the worst. I didn't like the film. I felt like it undid a lot of character growth and progression. As goofy as the Shizno stuff is, I prefer where that all went, because I'd rather have a story end with no clear-cut solution than have it be retconned and tell you that all that you've invested in is just worth nothing, basically. Again, that's just that's where I stand on it. And hell, I know for a fact that the worst of it, I think, that Rooster Teeth's had to deal with would have to be what happened with Genlock. And actually, let me look into that real quick.
Oh yeah, Genlock. They have Michael B. Jordan in that thing.
along with so many others.
Crazy.
No, I know for a fact that this was a case of the creator of that show specifically. Let me see here. Yeah, the creator for that show specifically having a vision for this, which was like mecha anime and shit like that, and then everything got destroyed because parasites got involved. I think the show was supposed to go to like Prime or something like that, or like it was on a different service, and that service basically wanted it to be much more mature, and this led into just awful things, the characters being rewritten worse, just all this shit, and literally it ends with what was there was the one of the characters just flat out commits nanobot suicide, comes back as like this digital ghost basically, and then convinces their friends that, oh, we should all just do this because like this we are better off than what we are before. I'm like, what the fuck is this? What the? Why are?
Start. Everyone died.
Exactly. It's like why would you do this first and foremost, and why? Like, what's worse is that when she kills herself, there's literally like this like tagged on PSA. It's like, if you're feeling depressed and suicidal, please contact the suicide hotline. I'm like, oh
care.
My god,
Do that.
It's fake. They're fake when they do shit like that.
You just ruined. It's gonna ruin the. As if the scene wasn't already nonsensical enough. You just ruined the whole dramatics. Now you ruined. Now you took away the dramatic cinematics. Now I'm not invested anymore. Look what you did. That made me not care.
Yeah, exactly. It's awful. It's done poorly. The whole thing with Genlock was very clearly like interference from the studio, and frankly, it deserved to be canceled after the second season. I'm just glad that it's over. The shit's done. I'm tempted to steal the characters and just do my own fan thing and just killed all the characters off and say, fuck it, we're just doing this now. I'm ending this my way, motherfucker.
I will say, despite his flaws and issues that many Rooster Teeth shows have, I still find it ironic that they still put more. Like, you could say that it's like obviously a lot of people say that it's trash. I say it's that good trash because yes, there are a lot of flaws, but my gosh, they still find ways to make it look appealing at the very least.
Within reason.
Yeah, within reason. I just still find it funny how like you look at a company like Disney, right? And they're already saying that like, oh, we're moving away from live action because of how bad the Snow White movie bombed. And it's just like you look at that trash compared to like, you know, because many people see Ruby as trash compared to Ruby, and it's just like, yeah, you're better off having a better time with Ruby. At least it's original IP.
Exactly. Sorry, let me mention this as well. So with Grace here, you are going to be given a bit of a choice in terms of how to deal with her. Just like as Sinclair has kind of put it, you know, you have a bit of an option with this whole sort of situation, essentially. And this will factor into how the ending for this game will go. So it isn't just about saving the little sisters, it's also how you deal with some of the human enemies you'll encounter, and the bosses for certain love this. So you'll have a chance to kind of deal with Grace how you want. Also, I don't know how much of her story you know, but essentially, like I said, she was trusted by Dr. Lamb to keep Eleanor safe, and basically, well, she failed that. And you're a bit of the reason why. So I am curious to see how you're going to handle Grace and how you're going to handle the situation with her.
I mean, so far it seems like she wanted to have a child. She's a victim of being put into this cult, and I don't know.
Yeah. Again, she's not a villain per se. She's a victim of circumstance, and I think that's the biggest takeaway from it, is that she is not someone who was naturally violent. It's just a case of everything went this way, and she's just become bitter
it's
and
like,
jaded to the world.
At first, I thought she's like a villain, but then now I'm like learning that she just seems to be a victim. That she's a victim of being a part of this cult. She got inducted into it because she got treated like shit. I don't know.
Basically, and I think that's the worst of it, is that, again, it's a circumstance of everything that's happened, everything that's going on, and just how far this whole thing has occurred to her. And it's nothing to do with the fact that, it is what it is. It's just circumstance built on top of circumstance, and now here we are where she can't let go of the, what's the word? Of the problems, basically. She has every reason to hate you because of a lot of the stuff that led to Eleanor getting kidnapped on her watch, basically. And that's one of the big sort of problems, and that's sort of what it is. What I like is that they're presenting Grace as not just an antagonist, but someone that you can sit there and go like, yeah, no, this is someone who very clearly did not intend, like, it very clearly is not hostile, it's not evil, is anything of that nature. It is literally just a case of, things are going the way it's going, basically. And I think that's what's the word here? I think that's the best way to kind of put it, is that she is very much someone that you can see and think, yeah, she might have been a nicer person before all this, but it is just a case of like how badly this is all going as of right now, especially with Rapture and how it is. And yes, this is her apartment, and basically what happened again when what's her name? When Dr. Lamb was being arrested by Rapture security, she was given the chance to keep Eleanor safe and basically raise her as her own, basically, for a while, until Eleanor got taken, and basically Dr. Lamb, Gracie lost contact with the girl.
I'm not even a half mama to you, girl. I couldn't protect you. This poster of Dr. Lamb in my room is staring me down like it knows I'm ashamed. I've always been loyal to your real mother, Eleanor. Always trusted her with my secrets.
And again, she's just sort of resigned to her fate, basically. And yeah, she mentions the whole poster and everything, which I think is a nice little detail. Let me see. Hold on. And that's another thing as well, is that she just completely gave herself over to Dr. Lamb in a major fucking way. And she took advantage of all that.
Dr. Lamb trusted me to care for her child.
So yeah, now the big question is, how are you going to handle her?
Eleanor disappeared. And then one day, I see her walking with you.
And yes, that she basically admitted, you basically broke her jaw when she tried to go after Eleanor, when she was a big little sister.
Broke my jaw. So I'm ready, baby snatcher.
Well, again, big daddies are programmed to defend their little sisters, whatever the cost. And because Gracie wasn't on, let's call it, the approved genetic list, Delta basically just did what he had to and went into protector mode. Which is, again, is kind of sad, because this is like a 60 or so year old woman.
You're a better man than I am, Chief. Maybe next time she'll think twice about pointing fingers.
Yeah, but the key's not on her.
Now, let's
so, the choice is yours, whether to just take it and go, or just shoot her and take it and go.
You had me under a gun.
And he chooses to let her be.
No monster alive turns the other cheek.
And I do like how the characters are also interacting about this whole thing, where literally Sinclair's like, wow, you're a bigger man than I am. I would have just done it. And Gracie's just pissed off because she thinks you're a monster that's just playing with her. slowly starting to realize that, hey, you know, a monster doesn't do this, a thinking man does this.
I can't call off the family.
But just, you know, saying quite a bit of her character and the fact that she's realizing, wow, we are all just victims of circumstance.
These whirlybirds are custom jobs by an old
Monsters
friend.
aren't created.
I'm afraid this is all I can do.
You should know that monsters aren't created. Aren't born.
They're created. Yeah, that's basically the complete case in terms of this as well. It's just, it is what it is. And again, Dr. Lamb took advantage of this. She took advantage of Gracie's, like, suffering, her pain, all this stuff, and purposely made it so she would have a loyal pawn. And that's exactly what people like Dr. Lamb take advantage of at every possible turn.
Yeah.
That's the messed up thing about it. It's like this, again, when you played and I commentated for Mass Effect 2, you know, we talked about the whole sexual predator thing of Morinth and essentially what she is. She preys on weak people. And that is essentially what Dr. Lamb does. She preys on people who are incapable of defending themselves or at their lowest point mentally, and then tricks them into working for her because she makes them think they have no other choice. And again, that's the dangers of socialism. It isolates the weak links, makes them come together, and then
it's an abusive relationship. They isolate people to think differently than you. They don't allow any disagreement because their disagreement proves their entire ideology wrong.
Exactly. And then once you start to realize, oh, you know, there's more to my life than just this abusive bullshit, then you start to realize, hey, maybe I'm better off doing this, maybe I'm better off doing that, and not having to listen to my abuser, essentially. And again, that's exactly what you did with Gracie. You basically showed her there's a You good?
Well, I basically showed her the other side. Like, it's like when those people are so confused that the other side is, you know, actually, you know, is actually very formal, respectful, and nice, and not like the monsters they dehumanized. Like, I think it was like Sargon, right? Like these people online wanted to debate him, and they're like, "Why the hell is he so respectful? Why is he so professional? Why is he so nice?"
Well, sir,
like for a second, they're conditioning and brainwashing. Like
you've done more than just spare my life. You've opened my eyes.
Breaks away, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because again, it's like I said
you've
this before,
opened my eyes. I need to put it. Oh my god! I just got someone out of the cult. They started. It's starting to come to her. It's starting to realize.
Grace, do you
Yeah, exactly. And after he's decided, I'm gonna deal with Lamb and find out what the fuck is going on. Like Gracie's realizing that. Like the big thing is that I'm pretty sure Lamb told her that Delta's just a monster and animals. Like she probably lied about what he is. And now that she's realizing that I was lied to, what else has she lied to me about? It's great to, you know, to see. Unfortunately, we're not going to see much of Gracie until after a bit, but I like to imagine she found a way out of Rapture, among other things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, like I said, I've said before, it's like if the world thinks you're a monster, what does it matter? The world is wrong. But the moment you start acting a monster is the moment the world is right about you. You know, you should always present yourself as the best version of you, but you should also present yourself as the honest you. You know?
This game actually reminds me a lot of Black Ops 2 with the choice making.
Yeah, I can see it. Just a little bit more like subtle in a lot of areas. Also, I was going to ask, how long have we been going at this?
3 hours and 38 minutes.
I see. Do you want to call it here after this next segment? By the way, yes, Father Wales here has torpedoed the front end of the train. So Sinclair's still alive. He's fine. The problem is that the train won't go anywhere at this time. It's too damaged, and basically you'll have to find a way to get that sorted.
And I believe you could jerry-rig it to drain the park out. That'd let you stroll right inside.
Anyway, so yeah, I think this is a good enough place to stop it for now. The next area we'll probably go to is dealing with Father Wales. Loy, you alright with that idea as well?
Wait, what?
You cling to life.
Is he still here?
Congratulations. Today,
Hold on.
Delta, you meet
Loy?
a man who has no fear of death. And for
I think he fell.
he would burn with a smile.
Oh, what shark is that?
Oh no, he's just muted.
Oh, that's a great white.
I know, it's...
Gotta take a photo. But taking a photo also
I mean,
saves the game. It's a great white shark.
Again, we're in the mid-Atlantic, so it makes sense. They would be out here.
Yeah, I just
I also like the fact that you... I like the fact that you have that... Yeah, like, you picked up the slug, the shark does not even care. It's like, yes. I do like the fact that this game isn't depicting them as, like, bloodthirsty things that are trying to eat you. It's just literally like... It sees you, it's like, what is this armored thing? Looks too much, looks too dangerous. I'm gonna keep my distance.
Yeah.
Which, again, I like. It's like, thank you. They're not fucking Jaws, it's just animals at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Look at this rascal.
C'est la vie.
Show him what we got.
Holy shit.
So this is the, I think this is Pauper's Drop, I think. I could be wrong. Oh, no, Siren Alley, that's it. So it's the whore house, basically. Or the whore district. So basically think of it like, what's it called? Harlem, the red light district, like anywhere where sex and drugs flow freely, basically. And here, the Rumblers will mostly make their appearance. So Rumblers' main methods of attack, like I said, are shooting rockets at you from a great distance and throwing mini turrets. So you will be shot at from multiple angles if you don't take out the little turrets. But you also need to keep moving to avoid the rockets. But other than that, they're just as easy to take down as any other Big Daddy. Hold on, I'm gonna send him a text, make sure he's okay. Because I heard a gasp and I was a little worried.
What could have happened?
I don't know, I'm checking. But yeah. We'll wait for the response. But yeah, mostly this area. I like how this area is designed. Again, it feels correct, kind of homely in a way,
Yeah.
Like pin, proper, etc., etc. Now, Father Whale. Oh, I should also mention. Remember the spider splicers?
Yeah.
They come back in this level. Fortunately, they're not as bullshit as they were in Bioshock 1. And yes, so essentially Father Wales is nutso. He's a spider splicer, and he also thinks he's saving lives here because he's reintroduced the faith and everything. But his faith is completely twisted because he believes in this whole socialism bullshit and flat out calls like Eleanor the child of God, basically.
Oh, it's not surprising. It's almost like this shit is just... Oh my lord.
It's almost like it's a cult by any other name, and it's true.
Yeah.
Like, that's the weird thing. It's like, Wales here is the most honest fucking person. And that's only because he's letting, like, his whole... Oh, I'm a religious zealot coming through. Actually makes it work. you know, and that's putting it mildly, I should say, which is both odd and kind of sad.
We'd begun production of a newly designed Big Daddy model, nicknamed the Rumbler. He launches high-explosive munitions to disperse groups of splicers, followed by miniature automated turrets.
Putting it mildly, unfortunately.
Our tests find that the Rumbler's performance is highly effective, if messy. In Rapture's arms race,
hold on, still looking. Yeah, no, nothing. Let me think.
So the Rumbler was made to fight splicers.
Pretty much. Basically, this is more of a creation of what's it called? Let me see here. Gil Alexander and Sophia Lamb realizing that the common Big Daddies are just too easy to be avoided. Rumblers are much more effective at what they do because they, again, can fire the rockets, they can move more agilely because they aren't so heavily armored, and they can basically defend themselves much more effectively. The main thing, however, is that, again, it's that lighter armor that makes them more vulnerable to basic attacks like the ones you can do. So they can go down just like any other Big Daddy, if not a bit easier, depending on circumstance and how well you can dodge rockets, essentially. Let me see. But yeah, as for Siren Alley itself, basically what you're going through is the most, what's the word? It's the most, it's the oldest parts of Rapture again, like I said. And this specific area was used as, or was supposed to be, temporary housing for like the workers and the people who would build the metros and things like that. It was never supposed to be for like long-term occupation, and places like that, especially like the Sink as well. But that's the big problem, is that, you know, as Rapture got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, they couldn't control these sorts of things, and these people just wound up getting stuck here for essentially the rest of their days. And that's the legitimately sad part about it. But, you know, it is what it is.
Like a lot of the ladies down here, Siren Alley was born with a more respectable name, but only God remembers what it was.
Oh, by the way, I should also mention, if you fully upgrade, or do 2 upgrades for one of the weapons, you get an additional upgrade, and the weapon will become fully upgraded. So the game does encourage you to mix it, to stick to a certain weapon type and just kind of upgrade it as best you can. But yeah, that's just putting it out there. I'll give it to that one splicer. At least she had the right idea to like set a fire to try and kill you. Poor thing, however, completely underestimated her own abilities and has been beaten to death with a fucking with a drill. Okay. I'm not getting anything back from Roy. I think something did happen. My hope is that it was just probably something like the dog ate something it shouldn't, or something like that. That's my hope. Excuse me. That's interesting. Sorry, just checking something here.
She says catch when I throw her thing around. Big Daddy.
I will admit when you set up that little cluster of rivet traps there, I was surprised that actually worked, because whenever I tried to do something like that, the fucking I've had it where the rivet will actually just detonate the rest of them all together, like on top of each other, and it's like, oh great, I've just wasted all that ammo and basically only got one thing to go off. Awesome. But it's again, that's just the curse of what's it called? That's just the curse of me thinking ahead and trying to trick the game and realizing, oh, fick. My cunning plan has completely backfired on me at the most inopportune moment.
Oh,
damn it!
Fuck! There's a spire splicer.
Mother of mercy, I think that was Simon Wales.
Again, they're not as bullshit as they were in Bioshock 1. The developers learned their lesson to a degree, but boy, is it still... Excuse me. Is it still annoying. It's still kind of irritating to deal with them. Mostly they'll, what's it called? When it comes to the spire splicers, they still cling to the roofs more often than not, and will actively, like, get you to try and chase them to certain points. But they've become much more, what's the word? Ambush focused this time around. So fortunately, it's not like, what's it called? It's not as awful as it used to be, essentially.
Yeah.
So, you know, small blessings as it is.
Hypnotize your foes. Laugh as they find
But
each
again,
other.
could have been a lot worse given everything else.
A kind of church down in the pumping station. Expect a reckoning when you arrive.
Oop, shit. Almost dropped something there.
Alright, let's save so I make sure. Because I am a bit worried here, but I hope everything goes right.
Same. Otherwise it becomes a right pain in the ass to get back to where we were.
There's just no, like... How shall we say? There's no real deterrents or anything, so...
True. Which is kind of funny when you think about it, because this is... Like, hold on. You couldn't set up turrets in that in Bioshock 1, right?
Well, you can't set them up, but you can hack them.
Right, so I think this is the one game where you can actually, like, throw, you throw these little turrets in, they set up and then just start destroying, any enemy that comes to their way. And I think it makes the game a little easier, because you can set up these defense points much more frequently and prevent, what's it called? And prevent, you prevent yourself from just basically getting destroyed in every which way in that, basically. So, it's, again, small blessings here and there.
I'm telling the other girls that I have the best daddy.
Again, could be a lot more difficult. I will also say this, that the defend the little sister stuff is a lot less annoying than than I expected, which again is...
you can't hypnotize big daddies in this game?
Your enemies. Warning, not all friendships.
You should be able to, maybe there's still a little sister. But I guess that would be a little odd if you could do that, especially given what happened to you. Anyway.
I think Mother knows I'm helping you like this. She's accelerating my treatments. Don't give up on me.
Anyway. Hold on. Yep. Alright. Not to try and rush it, but I think this would be the best place to kind of stop it. We are hitting it a bit late tonight.
Alright.
Okay. So, once again, I want to thank, I think so far it's been pretty, honestly, pretty straightforward and pretty damn good. We got a little further than I initially anticipated, all things considered. I thought we would just stop at one other point, but it's like, no, we got a little further and made it into, what's it called? Siren Alley. So I think we're pretty much on point for everything else going on. I think after this would be Dionysus Park and then another location. So that's, I think we're still not in far enough to actually be like in the mid game or anything of that nature, but I also think we're not so far off that we're not within the mid what's it called, halfway through the game essentially. Again, this is not a particularly long game.
I mean, it's a really fun game, I have to say. It's like so much better than Bioshock 1 in so many ways right now.
Yeah, again, Digital Extremes knows how to make fun games, and they said, hey, why not do something? Yeah, why not give the player the ability to do this?
It is very, like, refined. Like, you actually, there's a reason to hack these health stations. There's a reason to hack these things that give you free shit. You know, I feel like I like the protagonist more. I like the story more. I like the combat more. Like, it feels like a real power fantasy, and I really like it.
Yeah, again, all they had to do was just strap a Big Daddy suit to you, and it's gold. But ironically, though, despite the fact that Delta is essentially the same as Jack, a blank slate that the player can inhabit, he's got more going on for him because we see more of his history unfold. He's not unlike Jack, he's not like a complete blank slate, you know. It's like, holy shit, there's something going on here. Plus, your goal is to save your daughter, and I think that's kind of a noble. I know that this was like at the start of what a lot of people derogatorily called the datification of video games. I'm like, no, I don't see it.
That sounds really retarded of a term. Really stupid. Like, what's wrong?
Well, it was basically.
Wait, well, you explain it.
Yeah, it was basically because during this time period, a lot of video game protagonists were parents, like fathers looking for their kids and things like that, and trying to save them. So that's basically where that term datification came from. Oh shit. Hold on. But yeah, that's basically what it is. But at the most part, it's just that. Let me see. Sorry, I'm just checking something else. But yeah, I think this is as good a place as any to stop and prep for the next time. So next time we come back here, we'll more than likely wind up going to what's it called? The rest of Siren Alley, and then from there we'll probably tackle Dionysus Park, which again shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah, overall I think this was a pretty good first start, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it so far.
Yeah.
Alright. But we will see you all next